Millimeter, it be accurately measured.
It's measured flat, direction up and down. Flat level we at, flight over ground. Descending from that breeze, heading in degrees. Horizontal, flat, EST. Now you know it's flat below ground. Measured flat. You hearing me now?
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Sven P, Curve Fart, Pablo de la Cruz, Level Playing Poem, who was on a great show yesterday evening. So check that out. I'm going to do a plug for it immediately, as it did actually broadcast early this morning. And that particular video is called, just give me 1 second. The Globe on Trial is in the thumbnail. The actual name of the video is called Can You Prove Earth is Round? Tamara Cheville Level Plane Poems. And that is Tamara Cheville on Innerverse Podcast. And that was, as I say, released today if you're watching this as a member on the Uncut and After Show. Also a massive shout out to Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, J Mel's 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Bob Barker, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike Chow Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links, as I say, to Patreon are below this video, together with links to my book, Measured Flat, which you can buy now for $14.97. You can also make money off the back of it if you wanted to sell Measured Flat underneath your video, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is that you do on social media, then you can become an affiliate and earn 30% of the sales of any books that went through that link. So check it out. There's a link also below this video to become an affiliate and sell Measured Flat for a 30% commission on your site. So check that out in the info box below this video. But with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Hello. If Jeremy and Gio are AFK, you might find limited love when Jeremy returns. I kept my right ear for last time I was here. We will see. Hopefully he forgives me. Hopefully he's as fickle as I am. Hey Neil, hey Adam, hey Craigs.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Squire.
Oh, thank you. Happy belated birthday to you. I know your dad passed it on, but I haven't spoken to you since we last spoke. We've all got birthdays around the same time.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. What you got planned today? Anything nice?
This is it. This is something nice. I love doing what I do. So this is something nice to me.
Touche.
Got a t-shirt, got a new hat, got some socks, got some moisturiser. Is it moisturiser or is it face wash? Face wash.
Both.
Chocolates.
Nice.
You literally
That's
describing my birthday last week.
Got
My missus
music.
booked like a freaking spa for us. We went and had like a clay mud thing. Like I couldn't even tell you what it was, bro. But it was fun.
Okay. The most important thing on any birthday or Christmas to me is getting music. So I got an album by Olivia Dean, Brit Award winner 2026 apparently. Never heard of her. What's this? Grace Abrahams, Daughter from Hell. Again, never heard of her. And the only one I have heard of is this one, which is Charlie XCX, who I like. And this one's called Music, Fashion and Film. So I've got 3 albums. Very pleased.
Oh, I know that Charlie XCX. She did all the songs for Wuthering Heights, didn't she?
I didn't know that. I'm a big movie fan of recent years. I used to be. Not anymore.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Wuthering Heights, but I have a girlfriend who is mad about the film, and she's like, yeah, she did all the music for it.
I liked her when she was in the XX, if it's the same person. I think it is.
Hey, girlfriend, how many you got there?
Talking to.
One's enough, bro.
Well, that was a nice plug by Tamara Seville.
Yeah, weren't it just? Shout out to Tamara. I did her a big plug in the intro while I was shouting out my patrons, so she's one of my patrons. But she had a literal massive printed out cover of the book to hold up, physically hold while she was promoting it. It was ace, wasn't it?
Yeah, some of the stuff was cringe, but what are you going to do? Everybody can't be us.
Yeah, my empathy has waned for people who are doing stuff wrong as much as they have for people doing stuff right. When I go, it's inconsequential. So, like, I've softened to the conspirators as much as, like, a year ago we were saying, look, the people who are led to this subject by conspiratorial means and want to talk about ice walls and domes and such like are bracing against the right message and the right way to do it. No. We are inconsequential, right? So if the only purpose is to keep ourselves amused, because converting next man down the line is inconsequential, right? The measurements will still be flat anyway. I've got an example of that we'll be covering on today's video, right? So Michael Kahn got in touch and was like, can you cover this Dave McKeegan video? And I thought, this will be another video to reject, because I wanted to cover women. That was it, just because it was suggested to me. And you know when you get a bee in your bonnet and you just want to do exactly that? I thought it must have been something catchy about the word Bimbo Week that made me think, yeah, man, I definitely want to cover a week of women trying to debunk Flat Earth. Why not? But the videos kept coming in from Liam and a few other people, like they do. And I just rejected them one after the next. And I must have had a dozen video suggestions from various different people. And I'm really grateful that everyone's suggesting these videos to do. But each time I looked at them, I'm like, it just doesn't hold anything of interest. But then I got to the Dave McKeegan video, and I was about at least a third of the way through it, just thinking the same thing. This is not going to be something I want to cover. It's just boring. And then he did a couple of things that made me laugh out loud. And when something gets my attention or makes me laugh out loud, suddenly I'm like, okay, despite me not necessarily wanting to cover this because it's tedious and boring, this has made me laugh. Therefore, I can only assume someone else will get a laugh out of it. So on that basis, I went back and I'm like, I'm sure I can do something with it, because I can't just take out that one little bit that made me laugh out loud, because it's about 5 seconds long. So I went back through it and re-watched it, which annoys me. I don't watch Dave McKeegan. I'm not a fan, and I happen to be watching this on a Skype feed. So someone shared it with me. It's Michael Kahn, and I'm just pressing play in the Skype feed. So I'm seeing it. I'm like trying to rewind it, and it's a bit clunky when you're watching something in Skype. So to re-watch it again to re-get the feel of what I can actually utilise from it was just a bit frustrating and took a lot longer than I was hoping. But I got what I wanted out of it, hacked a few bits out that I could at least make a 3-minute short video out of, making it, worth my while from a YouTube point of view. So I did that, hacked it together in video format, and then published it to the members, then re-videoed it so I can scale it down some, which is how I do it. Crude though that may sound, that's just how I do it. And then published that again to members as a shorts video, which I'll publish to the public tomorrow. But I've got the widescreen version, if you want to call it that I can cover and will cover today on the live stream, because to me it exemplifies the point of this little rant. Doesn't matter what we do, right? Earth will still be measured flat regardless of who's measuring it or their purposes for measuring it, regardless of their desired outcome. As a consequence of measuring Earth, it'll still be the same old flat Earth measurements that they were always using before us pointing it out, and they'll continue to use, in some instances, to suggest they've got a globe beneath their feet. Which is, in this particular instance, it was the bit that made me laugh. So I'm half paying attention to the video, and Dave says something along the lines of, when you're on a globe looking up, and then he brings him a diagram with an arrow pointing left. I saw it and I just pissed my pants. And then he did it again later in the video. That was to be honest, it was the second time. When he did it the second time, but the opposite direction. But for an altitude comparison rather than an azimuth comparison. So in the first one he did it, he's saying north and up was in the second one, or vice versa. The first one was up and the second one was north. Regardless, because he'd done it twice, I'm like, that's the bit that I like. But it ended up being completely inconsequential with respect to the video that I'm actually making. So by the time I was done making the video, 3 minute, 2.5 minute, whatever it was, shorts video, I'm looking at this ending going, this doesn't have anything to do with the video I've made. You know what I mean? I've just put it there because it made me laugh. No other reason. So it's strapped onto the end of this video, like 2.5 minutes deep into a 2-minute, 40-minute video for no reason. And it made titling it a nightmare as well, because my title ended up being something like Dave McKeegan measures Earth flat with azimuth and altitude, and also globe up lol, you know, with globe up in quotes. But it just made the title really clunky. It made the video disjointed. So we're not going to stay in this chat. We've got a thief amongst us. Elder Bear, someone who's stolen from me, is in this server. So I'm just going to disappear. I don't want to be amongst thieves like Elder Bear who steal from me. So I'm going to bid you guys in this server farewell.
Bye. Yeah.
We'll go in Discord, in Flipside Discord.
What was that from? Yesterday?
No, I'd gone into Earth Awakenings, but I just, you know, I don't have a need to be in these servers anymore. I was killing time waiting for my book to be published, which is why I was going in there, to give my audience something to, you know, to get their teeth into and enjoy, because it's the format of the show. And I hadn't got anything to talk about because the book's still waiting to come out, right? So for about a month, which is realistically how much longer it took than I was expecting, about a month longer than I kind of anticipated. I thought, well, I'm going to have to keep my audience entertained. Otherwise, when I do go out on tour, the most recent shows will be the same old stuff that we've been doing the month prior, which is no good. I need something juicy and exciting just before I go out and start talking to people about my book, much like Tamara just did on that show that she was on, right? I'm going to be doing similar stuff. Even potentially with the same guy who was like in the comments saying, oh yeah, I'd love to have Nathan on to talk about his book. And you're like, yes, I definitely will then, you know. But when doing that, you want people to come back and see the last debates and see them being exciting and see the person getting their ass handed to them. But from here forward, now the book's out, I don't have any need for that, right? I don't need to be surrounding myself with the scummiest of people imaginable. You know what I mean? I just don't need to. So why would I?
Right, because that reflects badly on whoever you're wanting to interview you. They don't want you to think you're like incapable of holding a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they hear constant audio chaos, they're going to assume to a certain degree it's my fault. Even if it's my fault in an indirect way because I've triggered the people that are around. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the reason is, and the people who do it know that. You know, there's going to be an amount of distribution blamed on me for whatever the reason is. It doesn't matter that I'm not even causing the chaos. If I want to get a word in, that'll be immediately held against me. If 5 people talk at once, it'll be ignored. You know, people hear and see what they want to hear and see.
That's a fact, Jack.
Cranberry was
People do.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to reiterate it, but yep, sorry.
There was
I got a sense of deja vu from earlier there, like Nathan. I thought you were playing yesterday's show.
No, I was in Earth Awakenings. So I was in politics yesterday, and I unceremoniously just said I'm not staying in here if Edibes and he's a thief. So I don't want to be around him. And then I left. Yesterday, that was politics. Today, it's Earth Awakenings. Now, you know, if these servers are just hosting these thieves, I just won't be in them. I don't need to be, like I just said, in those servers. But I'll, you know, happily go along until somebody comes on that's like, well, that person's a thief. I don't want to be around that person. Listening to them lie to me.
I bet if you go to Worldwide Debate, he'll follow you there.
Probably. I mean, one by one, I'll just tick them off then. If that's how it is, like if they're just content to host thieves, then I can't demand that they do anything. They're not my servers. I don't have a server. You know,
Well, Nathan, how about you let your PR consultants reach out to these servers and explain to them, you know, that if somebody has openly admitted to stealing the book, could we not have them in there when Nathan's going to be there? You know?
maybe. I don't want to burden anybody, to be honest. I'm grateful that they have me in, and if I choose not to be there because they've got somebody that I don't like there, I can make that choice. I don't have to burden them. You know what I mean?
But
And
they want you in there. The thing is, they want you in there. They just may not know the reason that you're leaving. You know, like they may just think you got a problem with them. You know,
Yeah.
What's unsaid is what people make assumptions on.
Yeah, but Nathan says, I don't want to be here as a thief, and I don't want to be around them. So he's letting them know before he leaves why he's leaving.
Exactly.
Now, yesterday, they were a little slow on the, muting him. But when we left, just as we left, they muted him. They server muted him. So
Just can't be dealing with it, right? I just don't want to. Why would I?
I wouldn't. He's an asshole. He's a demonstrated asshole who has nothing but bad intentions for you.
Yeah, he has
Like
nothing but
Toon and
hatred.
like the rest of them.
Exactly. I can cope with people who've got nothing but hatred for me. That's most of the people on the opposing side. They're full of hate, which is an unnerving position to be in. But I'm not in that position, so I don't envy the position they find themselves in. But what they are is consumed with hatred, and I can cope with that. But when you're consumed with hatred and then you decide that's a justifiable reason to steal from me, then I cannot be in your company. Because what's next? The type of person that hangs around people like that are the kind of people that end up being persecuted, being stolen from, being robbed, beaten up, whatever it is that it escalates to next. Because if they can get away with demeaning you, making up lies about you, then stealing from you, they'll escalate it and escalate it and escalate it. And if you, the individual, don't say, well, I'm going to remove myself from this person, they've demonstrated that they've only got ill intent for me. Now they've demonstrated that they're more good than content to justify theft from me. What's next? I don't want to find out, frankly. I just don't want to be around those kind of criminals. Anyway, back to Dave McKeegan. The video is specifically about him measuring Earth flat. On screen now, we've got azimuth and altitude. That's directions in the horizontal. That's orientation from north to describe south, west, east, or north itself with a degree at 0. That's azimuth. Altitude is the angle with respect to a plane that you can measure a star at 45 degrees with respect to the plane. So where it says object and altitude A, that's the vertical elevation angle with respect to the horizontal at 0. 0 being also capable of description in the horizontal for azimuthal directionality, where it shows 0 with north and 180 at south, 90 at east and 270 at west. This is what Dave McKeegan has measured. He's measuring stars and describing looking up to them, describing turning around and looking south, describing how you can see both poles of alleged axial rotation when you see the movement above you in both instances from the equator. All he's doing is describing azimuth and altitude, because that's how Earth gets measured. There isn't another way. If you're going to try and claim this is with respect to a globe, you're inside the globe, as we all well know. Now, while Dave McKeegan doesn't explain that explicitly, what he does do, which is where I found the humour, was describe it on the globe when suddenly all orientation descriptions fail. So he's suddenly describing up as left, because it fails when you try and describe this, that's you inside a ball, with you on the ball, which gives you the degrees of the protractor. You can't be on that because suddenly the orientation fails, which it did miserably for Dave, much to my amusement. So that's what we'll be covering today.
Hey guys.
Hello.
But again, on a sphere, if you are in the center of the sphere, your north is up. Meanwhile, your compass is pointing forward.
That's not correct. In the sphere, azimuth still works on the equatorial plane the way it would in reality. That is to say, the degrees are, as this describes on my, you can't see it, on my screen, you've got forward and backward at 0 and 180. Well, if it was north and south, 0 would be north and 180 would be south. But that's an orientation in the horizontal with respect to an equatorial plane. If they ever suggest that they're taking a measurement from the surface of the sphere, as you just paraphrased, then they're not taking it with respect to the sphere, they're taking it with respect to a plane they describe as being tangential. And then they transpose that angle inside the ball for it to work with the celestial sphere wrapped around that ball, with you on the equatorial plane, with azimuth working exactly as it does in the horizontal. So north is not up. Occasionally they'll try and get away with diagrammatically showing it as being up, but it isn't. North is never up. It's even got a fallacy named after it. It's called the wrong direction fallacy. North's
Yeah, the
horizontal.
same thing applies to bearings. It's also in degrees from north. Yeah, same thing.
Exactly. When you find your bearings, you're doing it with horizontal directionality. You're going to travel in a horizontal orientation. You're going to travel with directions that are planar, with distances that are measured flat. And if you're using the stars with altitude angles, then you've got a 0 for the baseline to the star with an angle you can ascribe in a degree. That's a degree from the baseline.
Tamara brings that up in her video too. When she's interviewed with that guy, she brings up directionality.
Yeah, she says it's her favourite. You're like, yeah,
Yep.
I like it too. It's as basic as it gets. Directions are flat. They only work one way. North's never going to be up. Or left. In the case of Dave Dumbo McKeegan. Yeah, I'll get that queued up now. So it's ready for when we do the live stream.
Stars are mainly the ones up and overhead, especially if they're at a high enough elevation, which
People are not getting that elevation.
Doesn't matter. They don't need to. As soon as someone comes to actually measure Earth, like Dave does in this video, it gets measured flat. Just get to... Here you go. Just listen.
at the ceiling, and you will see an axis of rotation directly above you. Well, from London at midnight on August 28th, these are the stars that we can see. You can see Rho Leonis at around 47 degrees altitude. It's said so
47 degrees altitude. So like with azimuth and altitude, you're describing the angle with respect to a plane. That's what altitude, in terms of an elevation angle as detailed for this star, 47 degrees with respect to a plane. It's an angle from the horizontal. Now, does it matter that I pointed that out? No. If I hadn't pointed it out, would Dave still utilise it to suggest he's got a sphere beneath his feet? Yeah. Is the angle still a flat Earth measurement? Yeah. But it doesn't matter, does it? Dave using flat Earth prerequisites to suggest sphericity don't change what the measurements are, do they? No. Well, he has to use flat Earth measurements. They are back engineerable into the equatorial plane inside the globe with the celestial sphere wrapped around it. So he can believe that these flat Earth measurements are transposable inside a globe on the equatorial plane. He can believe that. But his belief is inconsequential to the base measurements that he is making. When he says 47 degrees, that ipso facto is and can only be measured from a plane. That's what it is. Is that how the stars are described in all circumstances? Yeah. Is it how the eclipse would have been described yesterday? Yeah. Is it still described that way if you put it into a heliocentric model? Yeah. So it doesn't matter what happens, it's always measured flat then? Yes. It's always, it being Earth, is always, without exception, measured flat by everyone in all circumstances. Dave McKeegan will always measure Earth flat when he comes to measuring it. Now, him saying, well, look, this means it works on a ball thusly. I don't care how you believe it works. You've just taken a measurement from a plane. You're describing turning around horizontally with respect to a plane. The descriptions of your azimuth that you've ascribed, north, south, east and west to, are planar. When you say you can see more if you go higher, that's a perpendicular to planar measurement of altitude. Everything Dave does in this video, when it comes to any actual measurements, that's beyond his stupid little cartoons that he says, well, that means it works like this on a globe. Like, number one, it doesn't work on a globe. It only ever works in a globe. He hints at it when he says celestial sphere, but he doesn't diagrammatically example how the celestial sphere works, because he presumably knows he'd have to detail Earth as a globe with a plane inside it, with you inside that, measuring through the globe to the celestial sphere to give you these angles off the equatorial plane. Because that's how it does function. Flat for the calculations to work with the flat Earth measurement of angle from surface level. Back to the original point, doesn't matter what we say or do, it'd still have measured Earth flat, wouldn't he? Yes, Nathan.
Yes. Yeah, there is no other way. Length, width, and height is linear. There is no escape.
Yeah, exactly.
And they know it.
We'll leave this diagram, the diagram of azimuth and altitude, on for the duration of the show. So at any point I can cross-reference when we're covering the video that this is what we're dealing with, because this is the clearest diagram I have for azimuth and altitude.
By the way, I watched that Uncut after show yesterday, and that Jeremy guy pissed me off all over again. He is definitely retarded.
Oh, the one that we were in earlier with Geo, the Earth Awakenings.
Yeah.
Earth Awakenings?
Yeah, you can't really say an elevation angle is an elevation. You get an elevation from an elevation angle. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, I hope the more time elapses, the more the people who oppose us get called out for what they are. Complete con men. They're just grifting money out of YouTube videography subscriptions and sponsorships and e-begging, all of those things, by taking flat Earth measurements and lying about how they work with respect to a sphere. No, they don't. Like this example with Dave McKeegan. Now, rightfully, I am going to call out people from this point forth for being grifters. Dave McKeegan's a frickin' grifter. There's no two ways about what Dave McKeegan is. He's a grifter. He's using flat Earth measurements to suggest the antithesis of the measurements he's taking. He's using these flat Earth altitude angle measurements and degrees in the horizontal, that's azimuth and altitude, this, to say he's on a ball. That's a complete lie. It's a grift, so he can use his videography with favoured content being promoted by YouTube at the decree of Congress, so he can get sponsorships to lie to people. Dave McKeegan is a scumbag grifter. That's all he is. He's a con man. And I'm going to start calling these people out. It's like, don't try and allege to your audience that you're on a sphere when what you're using to allege it is flat Earth measurements. I'm tired of it. I'm just going to call you all out for what you are. You're all con men. Dave's going to be the first in that regard. I'm going to start pointing out that he's using flat Earth measurements. Therefore, to suggest anything other than what he's measured is a con.
Nathan, you're going to be calling out everybody then.
Yeah, you're right, I will. Every single person who ever measured Earth ever measured it flat. The fact that for the last 10 years they've been getting away with using flat Earth measurements to allege that we've got distances to geometric horizons when the distances are flat Earth measurements. Yeah, you're right, everyone's going to be falling under the cosh, Neil. You're not wrong. It's my birthday today, so it would be great if during the live show you could repeatedly point that out to the audience. Great e-begging during your birthday. Papa needs a new pair of shoes.
I'll do what you did. I'll say, man, I wish I could send you some money. But you know what? There's an audience listening. I made $200 that day on my birthday.
No, I'm all right. I'm not in my overdraft for the first time for quite a while. Thanks to the ebook. I'm very pleased.
How's it going anyway? Still
fantastic. I mean, it's not made me a millionaire, obviously, but you know, it's taken the pressure off. It's done exactly what I hoped it would do. Every month you get to a week or 10 days before and you're like, shit, I'm being emailed. Not emailed, you know, text messaged from the bank going, you're overdrawn. You're like, oh, Get lost. Just leave me alone. I never check my balance. I don't care. As long as I'm not being informed that I'm overdrawn. Well, I haven't had any messages, so I'm over the moon. It's about now that I'd start getting them.
Don't underestimate it yet. I understand you're not a millionaire, but you still haven't gone out, still haven't gone on a show, still haven't promoted the book. Now, Tamara has on a show. I don't know how many people watch that show, but as you get out there, more and more copies will be sold.
Yeah, I think so too, and I hope it continuously keeps me out of the red. That would be my main desire. You know, that I just bolster a bit of the ad revenue that YouTube took away in the last apocalypse. You know, because I haven't, in terms of my stats, done any worse. I'm still getting the same number of views, but the ad revenue's halved. Well, that did, affect me. It was like, shit, I do need that income. That was keeping me out of the red, whereas now it definitely isn't. So the book has served its purpose. That was exactly what it was for. When 10th suggested it to me, it's because I started moaning, going, YouTube have just cut the amount of revenue I get quite severely. And it's not like I'm getting... that's not true. The live stream viewings did go down slightly. But I compensated for it, right? I pumped out more shorts videos. So it didn't massively affect it. It meant I did more work. But the ad revenue still stayed at about half what it was, which was depressing. So, the whole purpose of having the book was to bolster that revenue. And for a year, I did the microphones. That was for the exact same reason. It's just like, I need something extra to keep my head above the water. Whereas now it's books. I'm much more happy flogging books. Because obviously it's about something that I've spent 12 years learning. So you go, yeah, you want to focus on something that you're an absolute expert in. I'm not a microphone expert. Yes, I learnt about it in college and mic'd plenty of bands and mic'd up guitar cabs, and I know what I'm doing with a mic, but it's not something I'm passionate about. I like the end result. Like, I really liked it when you got the end result, the music on the tape, so to speak. Now it's not on a tape, but you know what I'm getting at. That's the bit I liked, the end result. Oh, we've got the dog. Very good. Got the neighbour's sausage dog. Wife's just walked in with the dog. The best kind of dog you can have is the neighbour's dog. Anyway, we'll go live in about 5 minutes. Hopefully you guys can keep the conversation going while I go and grab a cup of coffee. Didn't realise it was as late as it was. I've been harping on about Dave McKeegan, haven't I?
I'll share a little bit about my experience yesterday. It wasn't too long. It was brief. I had business to do attend, but I had an interaction with Professor Phil. He's claiming force of gravity, so I bring up and so gravity is not a force. The sphere has been debunked then. He couldn't compute. He couldn't compute with it. And then they throw men to mass, attractive mass, stuff like that. And me pumping more mass into my helium balloon and moving away from the bigger mass.
That mass attracts mass thing that you just said. It was like, when's the last time you ever seen anything fall together? They usually fall apart. You know what I mean? They don't fall together.
Yeah, because he was saying gases have weight. And I asked him, how much does it weigh my fart if I fart on a scale? It's just a red herring. You don't have anything. Nothing to offer whatsoever. Double speak.
I remember me and Brian got into this, and Adam got into it too back in the day, but we were talking about weight, right? And if you're on a scale and you bend over and push down on the scale that you're already standing on, will the weight change?
It could. On the automatic scales nowadays, the scale will stop on a fixed number, regardless if you're moving or not. The digital display marks the weight. But if you move on the
Well,
scale, that's why it needs
Brian
to be
claimed
still on it.
that he could stand on look. Brian claimed he could stand on a scale, bend over, and push down on the scale while standing on it, and change his weight.
If he's standing still, he's not going to change his weight.
That's what I said, but he said he had he could do it, and I was, petty for not believing him. But it's still, I've never tried it myself. But if anybody does have a scale, could they check that? Because it sounded like bull crap.
I'm going to check it right now.
Showtime.
All right, 2 feet. Okay. Let's try now with 1 foot only.
No, you got to bend over and push down on the scale while you're standing on it to change the weight.
I see.
I don't know how it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, everybody's the same. Obviously.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to him that you're not changing your weight, you're changing your weight distribution. Your weight is fixed, He just couldn't wrap his head around that. He thought because he was applying force, from his hands that his weight could increase.
Yeah, didn't we go through that a few years ago?
The other name
Yeah,
for weight.
They called me a bad person for not believing it.
Yeah, the other word for weight is balance. It's to put the equivalent, let's say mass, for the lack of a better word, on the opposite side of the scale. So you need to have the equivalent on both sides in order to measure the weight. At least it used to be like that.
You're convoluting conventions. To be in balance is a methodology to establish weight in comparison to another object with a value already ascribed to it. So if you've got one value of X on one side of the scale and you balance the scale with something else, then you know that the item in balance with the other item is just the same as X in terms of its weight. But you're using a convention. Distribution would be when you describe balance, but weight is just a force perpendicular to a downward vector, a horizontal, right? So downward vector, when they describe gravity in the Newtonian sense, it's just that. It's you when you describe you moving through air as a vector in the downward, perpendicular to a plane. So a scale just measures the downward force of you displacing air. So the greater the mass, the more you'll displace the air and the more you'll push in a downward vector perpendicular to a plane of reference. But that's weight. You can then take that into something that they would call newtons when they describe their Newtonian gravity. That's the remnants of this force that's not a force that you can think of as a force. They just repurpose specific gravity and call it a newton when they weigh things. I'm done.
So you're saying that if I get a scale right now, which back in the day was a triple beam dream, I put crazy glue on that scale and I fasten myself on that scale and I weigh, say, 190. And then somebody pulls me up and I'm hovering in the air. It's not going to read anything anymore, correct?
Well, no, not if you're being pulled up in the opposite direction. Anyway, I'm going to start the
Yeah,
live
it got
show.
me hovering in the air.
Yeah. Hovering is also described with respect to a plane. Anyway, let's start the live show. For whatever reason, this live stream has been preparing the stream for the last 3.5 minutes. 3 minutes, 31 seconds. Still not live.
What's the problem?
It just says preparing stream. Normally not normally, in the last week, it's taken about 60 seconds to actually prepare the preview page on YouTube Studio. And without it prepped, it won't give me a button to go live. So I've got a little button. Once I connect via my OBS stream, it then sends the stream to YouTube and holds it until you press go live, and then it actually streams out to the audience. Well, at the moment, I've got my button on my OBS stream connected to YouTube, so YouTube's receiving a stream. The condition of the stream is, quote, excellent in both horizontal and vertical formats, but there's no go live button. I'm just sitting here with it saying preparing stream, and it's not. So,
are you telling me that every YouTuber who is an anti-flat earther has to look at a horizontal and vertical every time they want to go live on YouTube?
Yeah, they're the preview streams for the shorts and for the normal videos. Like I say, as it stands, I am connected, and as far as my equipment's concerned, I'm currently live. It's giving me the number of drop frames and the kilobits per second, 16,741, right? kbps. But I've not got a button to go live, so we're just sat here until it does give me one. So we're 5 minutes late now.
Try using a VPN different location.
Maybe.
Hey, Neil, what did you say to me earlier when my phone dropped?
I said if you stand on a scale, crazy glue yourself to a scale, it'll read a weight. But if somebody pulls you up where you're hovering, it shouldn't read anything, correct?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Nathan Oakley.
Yes, it is my birthday today. Look, I got a birthday super chat already from Never a Straight Answer. It says, happy birthday, Nathan. Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support. That's very kind of you. I was going to be very modest about it, and I explicitly told the people on the panel, please don't mention it's my birthday. You'll just embarrass me. And they all agreed that they wouldn't mention it. Not once.
I'm still 12 days older than you, Nathan. You'll catch me next year, maybe.
You were born 12 days before I was. 1980, right? You were born on the 1st?
Yeah, on the 1st, yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well, happy belated birthday to you as well. So you got you, me, Craig. There's a couple of people in fact, both Craigs, right? Craig Senior and Junior are both born in August. I think 7th and 3rd. And yeah, so there's a whole bunch of us that were all born in August, all around the same sort of time. Interesting.
Your poor mothers had to carry you guys in the heat of the summer. What's wrong with you? It's no concern.
It was
That's
miserable.
what happens when you get frisky in the fall.
Yeah, it's true. My eldest daughter was born in the height of summer. She was born late July. And my God, it was absolutely sweltering in the hospital. It was like 50 degrees. It was bonkers hot, and everybody's like stifled, they're all pouring with sweat and holding newborns. It was miserable. But yeah, anyway, I do like summer. My favourite's always going to be spring. I like springtime. As soon as the sun comes out and it's mild, it's like 18, 19 degrees C. Perfect. You've got the sun beating down and you're keeping you warm, but you're not like now pouring with sweat. The reason I'm pouring with sweat as I turn my fan on is the live stream took 5 minutes to connect. So typically it's like you press go on your stream deck, OBS connects to YouTube, it gives you a preview of what will, that is to say future tense, go out live, and then on the preview screen, excuse me, there's a button that says go live. So therefore you can get everything ready and then press go live, and then if you want to, wait until you actually see what's on OBS going out to the YouTube live stream. Right, I do it and just guess roughly how long it'll take to get connected and time it. I've been doing it for so long that normally I can time it within about a second. That is to say that when the live stream finishes and you watch it as a replay, the minute you press on the video, the thumbnail for whatever this live stream event is, Flat Earth Debate 2597, whatever it is, as soon as you press on the thumbnail, the video starts, and I want it like that, right? I've perfected the timing of the intro so that when you load up the video, it's like it's an edited video because the intro is immediate, and I like that. But in order to do that, you've got to kind of carefully watch what's connected, and I'll normally wait at the very least until I get a button that says go live, and today I just didn't have one. I'm just sitting there watching the whirly whirl going, preparing stream, also saying excellent connection, and everything's listed. It's telling me how many drop frames I haven't got, excellent, and the bit rate that it's connected to YouTube at. Everything's working as it would live. It's just not working. There's no button to actually start. So if you're wondering why we're 5 minutes late, that's why. Anyway, got a video to cover today. We're going to be covering Dave McKeegan. So shout out to Michael Kahn, who's a Northerner, Brit. So shout out to him. He got in touch with me and asked very politely, as lots of other people do, typically send me videos and say, can you cover this? Can you cover this? Can you cover this? And normally I'm like, yeah, great. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful that you're actually sharing this material with me to go through. But over the last week, I've had so many videos sent that I've just rejected. Not that I've told the person that, but, you know, I've watched it and gone, I don't want to cover that for whatever reason, and I normally have my reasons. And it was the same today, right? So Michael wouldn't have got a mention today, but for the fact that I played through Dave McKeegan's video with the exact same attitude. This is not going to be worthy of me covering. It's boring. And it is. It's dweeby stuff that he's covering. But then it made me laugh twice. And at that point, I'm like, well, at the very least, this has got a laugh out of me. So I'll see if there's anything else. I had to go back through the video and sort of assess it for what I could actually take from the video to make a half-decent shorts video out of it, to make it worth my time, right? I need to produce material. I'm a YouTuber. So I did that. And then by the time I'd hacked together a video that I wanted to make my point with, whatever that point was, I've then got this extra 10 seconds, the 2 bits that made me laugh, that are completely redundant and ancillary to the actual point the video is making, just because they made me laugh. So I'm like, as an excuse to use the bits that made me laugh, I've gone, how can I extract a flat Earth point out of this? Now, it's pretty easy when anyone's making any measurements of Earth. All Earth measurements are flat Earth measurements, and there aren't any exceptions. And in a way, that's why this has become useful, because the actual substance of the video demonstrates that, which is to say, like I told the panel, it wouldn't matter if we were near. The Earth would still be measured flat, even by people who want to believe that they're taking those flat Earth measurements and inferring that Earth's spherical with the flat Earth measurements they've measured. So if we weren't here talking about Earth being flat, formerly we supported the PSYOP version. We were in that Earth's not a ball we see too far category, that camp of putting a group of conspirators up against a group of bottom-of-the-barrel, socially fart-sniffing dweebs who like rockets and heliocentrism. We are set by a manufactured way below them socially, like flat earthers are really stupid, therefore they can be positioned below the fart-sniffing adenoidal dweebs who, like I say, like rockets and telescopes and space stuff that's, for me now at my age, it's just tedious. I find it all very boring. Now, that's not to say at some point in my life I didn't own a telescope and didn't take great interest in the sky and want to be a spaceman and all the rest of the stuff. I'm an ex-heliocentrist, in the truest sense of the word. Like, I was interested in how the globe worked as a model and was interested in looking at the night sky. And like everybody else, I whistled straight past the fact that I had to measure Earth flat in order to look at the night sky, gain positional information, measure azimuth and altitude, all of the things that are necessitated by making measurements of the sky. And those same measurements are what create the heliocentric worldview. So without realising it, or to put it more accurately, it went without saying that I and everybody else, in this case Dave McKeegan, will and can only measure Earth flat. They always will. Now, what I've got above me is azimuth and altitude. This diagrammatical example explains precisely what Dave McKeegan's measured in the video we're about to cover. So shout out to you, Dave McKeegan. I actually hacked your video up into a shorts video, so I'm not going to be posting a link to you, because I've got a shorts video, and if someone wants to dig it out, I'll ask my moderators if they can dig out a link to you. But I've normally got copy of their video and just click share. In this instance, it's something I've hacked up and put work into myself off the back of Dave's video, which will become apparent in a moment. But hopefully one of my mods will dig out a link to Dave McKeegan's channel so you can let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by Dave himself or indeed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. So like I say, hopefully someone can dig out whatever random Dave McKeegan video so you can go along and share the love of YouTube with him when we utilise and example his particular flat earth measurements, in this instance to the stars. So that is what we're going to be covering today. Has anybody got any comment before we actually in earnest get into the actual... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad we're keeping up with Bimbo Week. Very good.
No, we're not keeping it with Bimbo Week. Dave's not female.
We are. He's a bimbo.
It's not bimbo. Dave's male. Bimbo's female, exclusively female. Now, you can, in a derogatory way, ascribe that term to men, but I don't see that. I don't see men as being bimbos. I see that as an exclusively female term. Women are bimbos, or women can be bimbos.
I'm glad you keep it up with Bimbo Week.
I think McKeegan may be a woman, is what Neil's implying.
I don't know why. I don't see Dave as particularly... I mean, he's a complete beta, but that doesn't make him a girl. Now, I get that someone like... who's the guy who interviewed Dave? Do you know for sure and without a doubt? Peterson something.
Peterson.
Yeah, what's his first name? Jesse Lee Peterson.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson will occasionally do that, right? He'll describe a guy who he'll go, beta, right, when he's talking to some guy about living with his mum or something. And then when he describes another characteristic, he'll start saying, well, that's a female trait. Yeah? Now, that while Jesse Lee Peterson may attempt to get away with that with some of his guests, and I might indeed do it with some of the guests, I wouldn't necessarily ascribe that to Dave. I don't see him as being particularly girly. I don't know why you'd want to call him a bimbo. Well, let's try it a different way. Why would you say he's a bimbo?
You ever listen to him?
Yeah, I've just spent about an hour and a half editing him.
Didn't he have a hard time with his hooking up his tripod?
That's not girly. That's incompetence as opposed to feminine.
He cries like a girl.
When did he cry? When did he cry?
Constantly. Listen to his video. He's constantly crying how Earth is a sphere and it's not flat.
Okay,
while using flat Earth measurements.
You're forcing me to defend Dave. Right? I mean, this in itself kind of makes him girly, the fact that he needs defending.
All right, he's a bitch. They're all bitches, Nathan.
Oh, God, that's too much. You went too far, Neil. Too far.
You did. You went too far. Yeah.
Far? What do you mean too far? As in distance?
What, as in a horizontal mile measurement? I love the fact that this has become the norm now. You went too far. What, as in a horizontal distance measurement with respect to a flat Earth? Yeah, you've dropped the ball there. Dropping a ball is with respect to a plane. What's up? Up is perpendicular to a plane of reference.
Yeah, but that's got to make them crazy because you do it casually in conversation when you're talking to them. They'll say something and you'll just keep saying it, so it's got to be driving them mad.
Yeah, it doesn't always go over. Over is with respect to a plane! I've started getting tagged in TikTok videos. So for whatever reason, somebody's decided that when they see a globe Earth claiming video, they want to tag me in it and put at Nathan Oakley 1980. And I've said this for YouTube videos, but it also works in TikTok, right? If you put my name at Nathan Oakley 1980, it'll go blue and then you can immediately find your way back to the videographer. Now, when that's done in TikTok, it informs me when I go into the app to upload a video, right? Now, I don't make money from TikTok. It's not taken off in the way that YouTube has when I've spent 10 years garnering an audience and developing it. TikTok's just tickling along as it does, and I will keep putting videos on there in the hope that one day it might take off and might actually generate a revenue. But I don't care about it a great deal. Up until the point that I was promoting a book via it, then I care, because I want to promote the book via it. So for that reason, I started responding to some of the messages. And then, rather than it being responses to my videos because I was getting comments that I was actually replying to, I started, as I say, getting tagged comments that were coming through. And I was just doing the exact same thing. So someone would be like, Well, how do you explain this video then? I'll put on the adenoidal voice and assume it's some bottom-of-the-barrel dweeb like they all are that's doing this. And you're like, oh, how does this example of flat Earth? He's measuring with respect to a globe. And it was like a Tyson video today. And Tyson's describing distance, linear horizontal miles, and climbing up a building measured from sea level. And you're like, everything that he's describing in this video is measurements with respect to a plane. He's describing elevation angle, altitude, and distance. Specifically and explicitly, flat Earth only measurements. He also described azimuth, the direction that you'd have to be looking at the, quote, setting sun. So I'm putting in the message where he's describing something setting that's vertical, perpendicular to a plane. A setting sun is a flat Earth description. The altitude he's saying you should go up the building to watch it with is an altitude from sea level. The distance he says you can see it setting at is a flat Earth horizontal linear mile measurement. Everything he's used is flat Earth measurements. The fact that they take these flat Earth measurements and make a conclusion that therefore ball is inconsequential of the measurements. Like I was saying to you guys in the pre-show, we don't need to be here, right? If I can introspectively go, I don't have any influence over this stuff, right? It wouldn't matter if I didn't point out how flat Earth is measured. It would still be measured flat by everybody. And when you go to a Neil deGrasse Tyson example that's using flat Earth prerequisite distance, altitude, altitude angles, setting, rising, sea level, surface level, eye level, all planar, then he would have been doing that regardless of him making the conclusion that there's a ball attached and me coming along and saying, well, therefore it's not a ball. Or going, he's using flat Earth measurements. He'd have used them anyway. Now, with McKeegan, he's doing exactly that. I can just go to his video and go, right, okay, well, let's just extract from your video where you measure Earth. And they'll all be flat if they're an Earth measurement. And just cut out the cartoons where he says, well, if you take these flat Earth measurements and reference them like you're on a ball, you're like, you can do that if you want to affirm your bias, that the flat Earth measurements you've made actually mean you're on a little cartoon ball. But the little cartoon ball doesn't work in the way Dave McKeegan's explaining it with you on the surface. It works like this. On an equatorial plane with you inside a ball and that ball inside a celestial sphere to describe azimuth and altitude with. You're on a plane, if you believe you're a glober, inside the ball on the equatorial plane describing angles like these. That's how you describe angles from a plane. So you've got to have a plane, and for the globe it's the equatorial plane. Regardless if you believe you're measuring with respect to a tangential plane that you then have to transpose inside it, you're still measuring from a plane that just has nothing to do with your ball to then fantasize a ball and then put it into a system that can back calculate into the actual flat Earth measurements you took in the first place. For me, I say, all redundant, the measurements are flat anyway. Yes, they're saying that means ball, but besides it offending you that somebody's got a belief that they've used flat Earth measurements to describe, what difference does it make to you? They're still flat Earth measurements. And if the heliocentric worldview wasn't extrapolated after the fact, that is to say people went, here's my flat Earth elevation angle to this light in the sky at 47 degrees, then you'd still have a measurement of the angle from a flat plane at 47 degrees, regardless of the person not saying therefore ball, which violates the axiom of the measurement you've just took. But it doesn't make any difference either way. We will still measure Earth in the same way we always have done. It's always been, it always will be measured flat, regardless of what your belief is. Anyway, any other comments? If not, we'll go into this video. No? Yes? No? Hello?
Excited about Dave.
You're just excited to see Dave? Fair enough. Right, let's play it out. This I will release as a shorts video. This is the members only full widescreen format version of the same shorts video that I will eventually release.
Stars are mainly the ones up and overhead.
Let's actually critique this. He's just said stars are generally the ones up and overhead. Who wants to comment on that? Let's start there.
Well, to be overhead of something means that you're describing a vertical altitude with respect to a horizontal plane.
Yeah, that's up. Up and over, what, that way, vertically with respect to a plane. Yes, you can only describe being up and over something if you are describing the verticality with respect to the horizontality. This is a flat Earth by prerequisite. The description he's verbalised is only capable of ever being described with respect to a flat plane. Like all measurements and all descriptions of Earth measurements. Go ahead. Was it Christian?
What? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, if you look on the screen now at Dave's video, he has a nice horizontal line we call the horizon there. I mean, it's a little blurry, but that is the horizontal plane of reference.
Yeah, that's 0. If you were measuring the angle of these stars, obviously this is a time lapse, but if you were measuring the angle to this star, it would be, what, 15 degrees above the horizon, 20 degrees, 25 degrees, 30 degrees above the horizon. So the 0 is the horizon, if you're going to describe it with that terminology. Now, in reality, you're just measuring a plane of reference and describing the overall topography of your angle measurement in the vertical with respect to the horizontal at a 0. So you level your tool with respect to a plane. It's a bit like if you rotate about an axis, like on a chair. If you rotate around an axis, you're rotating in a horizontal orientation. That's azimuth. If you're measuring an angle from the 0 point the chair rotates about, then you're measuring a degree in the horizontal with respect to that 0, the same axial point that you'll rotate about for azimuth. That is what azimuth is. That is what altitude is. It's the only way we measure Earth. It's this. No, it's not. It's this. Azimuth and altitude, right? Altitude is the angle. Azimuth is the degree from north in the horizontal. That's how we measure angles to lights, the sun, star, moon, anything that you're measuring. Top of a building if you want to do it with terrestrial items. But in the case of this particular depiction that we're going to be covering with Dave, it's the stars being up and above and over your head, all of which are descriptions with respect to a plane. Let's carry on. Unless there's anything else anybody wants to add.
Would just for the ballers so they can remember, because they seem to forget a lot. The stars only have an apparent position. You're not going to be calculating its height ever.
Yes, don't confuse altitude angle with altitude. Altitude is your height in the perpendicular with respect to sea level. Altitude angle is your degree with respect to the horizontal in the vertical. So if you say a 45 degree, or in this case, in this video, 47 degree, it's from a baseline at 0. It's the angle in the vertical. The 47 degrees is your angle in the vertical, not actual height measured from sea level, which is something else. It's the difference between altitude, which means from surface level, and altitude, which also means from sea level, angle.
Especially if they're at a high enough elevation, which fits...
So especially if you're at a high enough elevation, you say, Dave? Like we just described a moment ago, what a coincidence! Yeah, depending on how high you are, what measured from sea level perpendicular altitude with respect to a plane, yeah, altitude, how high you are, is from sea level. So when you say that you can see both of the poles of these two rotational points from the equator, and more so if you're at altitude, then more so when you describe your height with respect to a plane, Dave. Yeah, that's a measurement from a flat Earth that Dave's appealing to. How many seconds are we into this edited clip? 5 seconds. We've already got the stars being above you and over you, and altitude for how high you view the stars. So already we've got azimuth. No, not sorry, azimuth. Altitude angles and altitude, specifically. 5 seconds.
It's what we can actually see in the night sky. If I go back to Stellarium, and I'll place my observer location around London at midnight on August 28th. Ursa Major is close to the horizon in the north, with its shape...
Oh, I see. Close to the horizon in the north. Well, it's obvious that we need to establish exactly what that means. So if we're going to be describing something with respect to its northern azimuthal directionality, then as you can see on this screen, north, in this diagram at least, is that way. Now for me that's north, right? But north is a horizontal degree for azimuth to describe everything with respect to that absolute direction. So that's north, that's south. On this diagram, that's north, that's south. They're horizontal only. They're described in a system called azimuth and altitude. So when we're, to be absolutely clear, describing things orientated in the vertical, that would be an altitude angle. So this doesn't describe north. Yeah, north is the azimuth. Yeah, as per this diagrammatical example. That's how it is utilised for orientation and direction. So we're absolutely clear. Because Dave seems to have a few issues with this. He doesn't seem to understand the difference between the two and occasionally convolutes them. Yes, we can obviously expect that from Dave. The man can't even cope with a tripod. But occasionally he is going to be guilty of the wrong direction fallacy when he misascribes the horizontal degree from north, that's azimuth, with the angle in the vertical, that's altitude. They're different things. That's not north. Yeah, that's north. That's up. Yeah, that's not up. Okay, can we all understand that when I point left, that's not up? When I point up, that's not north. We're all clear, I hope. These two systems are connected but mutually exclusive. You can't describe north in the vertical. It's azimuth in the horizontal and altitude in the vertical from the horizontal. So we're clear. Is anybody unclear? To buy me some time while I swap back.
Pretty clear. Pretty clear in the chat.
Good.
Keep orientated so that its feet...
So, orientated, you say, Dave? Yes, orientation will be described in this particular instant with degrees from north. That's how we orientate ourselves, like with maps and compasses. That's orientation.
Feet are nearest the ground. Midnight on February 28th.
Nearest the ground. Right, I got you, Dave. So when we describe the flat plane, that'll be when we describe things with respect to the ground at a 0 point for its altitude or its azimuth. With respect to the ground. I highlight this because there's quite a few people that when they measure altitude and azimuth suddenly think it, quote, has nothing to do with the ground, end quote, lying bastard deceiver called McToon, who was also alleged to be in Antarctica with this guy. Now, it seems a strange coincidence that we're literally covering suggested ground positions and ground measurement and ground directions when, according to a lying shitbag deceiving con man named McToon, it's, quote, nothing to do with the ground, end quote. Yeah, these people are very deranged. On the one hand, they think that their altitude and azimuth measurements with respect to a plane prove a globe, like a global ground. Until you point out how flat they are, then they're, quote, nothing to do with the ground, end quote, lying shitbag McToon. But just so we're all clear, Dave's just cleared it up in case anybody was under the misapprehension that the lying shitbag named Toon had any credibility when he's got caught lying by his own kin. That would be Buck Sodbuster demonstrating how wrong those lies told by McToon were. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, you have somebody in the chat saying the flat plane is always derived from the plumb vector at that point. No flat or spheroid surface exists could be referenced at the vast majority of Earth location points.
Eratosthenes was a liar.
Yeah, exactly. You rely on this too, to have perpendicular plumb with respect to the horizontal. So you're going to throw out your own measurements that use this then? The ones that derive radial values? Yeah, spot on, John. Anything else, Neil? Plumage with respect to a plane.
Still looking north, Ursa Major...
So we're clear, Dave. We're still going to be looking north, as in a horizontal orientation when we look and decide what way we're looking. So we're clear, that's north. It's horizontal. It's azimuth. Okay? It's only capable of being described flat, Dave. So we're all clear.
Now appears on the other side of Polaris with its feet sticking up in the air. Compare the views looking south. It's like if you were to sit on a spinning office chair. You can spin around whilst looking up at the ceiling and you will see an axis of rotation directly above you.
I see, Dave. So it's kind of like this diagrammatical example I've got here that explicitly details how azimuth and altitude are depicted when you rotate around an axis on a chair. So the azimuth would be like you spinning on your chair. Yeah, well put, Dave. That's a really well described description of azimuthal horizontal orientation about an axis when you describe north. Yeah, that's north. And if we rotate on an office chair, we'll be looking south, right, Dave? Horizontal azimuth. That's a flat earth measurement Dave's appealing to. It's the same one he measured in Antarctica. What's that? But we can also look up and down. Yeah, that would be called altitude, like this diagrammatical example where it says altitude. Yeah, that's when we tilt our head with respect to a plane to get a degree off a plane, like 47 degrees, for example. So we've got the rotation about an axis in the horizontal to give us degrees from north. That's horizontal azimuth. And tilting our head up with respect to the plane that we had for an axis previously for horizontal direction, called altitude angle. Gotcha. Yeah, I've got quite a few examples of how Earth is unequivocally measured flat with these, Dave. So glad that you could utilise these flat Earth measurements for us to use you as an example. Wonderful.
Well, it seems like the guy Roxanate has an answer for that. He says, hang a plumb bob and you have zenith automatically as long as the plumb bob does not touch the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, plumb bob's perpendicular to a plane.
90 degrees.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, so zenith, this 90 degrees to a position on Earth, right? It's the zenith he's talking about?
That's the only zenith I can think of.
Yeah, it's a flat plane measurement. When you describe 90 degrees to plumb bobs or zenith, 90 degrees to the surface, you're describing a flat surface. That's what these are, by axiomatic principality. That's what you're utilising. That's what Dave's using. That's what's been used to create the ball so it can back engineer into these flat Earth only descriptions of directionality and azimuth and horizontality for degrees from the surface level. Yeah, you can only ever describe zenith with a plane, 90 with a plane, perpendicular with a plane, a plumb bob with a plane. They're all planar measurements.
Well, from London at midnight on August 28th, these are the stars that we can see. You can see Rho Leonis at around 47 degrees altitude. It says...
Oh, 47 degrees altitude. Oh, it's a funny coincidence that I've got that diagrammatically exampled for my audience here, Dave, so we can understand exactly what you mean when you say 47 degrees altitude. What do you know? I've got an altitude angle diagrammatically exampled from a flat plane because that's the only way it can be measured, Dave. So I just want to give props to Dave. Can we all give Dave a wonderful round of applause for measuring Earth flat with altitude angles at 47 degrees? So you've got your zero baseline, a flat Earth, and you've got your 47 degrees from the flat baseline, exactly as diagrammatically exampled where it says altitude. Yeah, that's right, Dave. We've got an altitude angle from a flat plane that you're measuring. So pleased that you could detail specifically that this is from the ground. Also confirming not that we needed it, but that Toon is an abject liar, a scumbag, a deceiver, a con man, a grifter when he says, nothing to do with the ground. It seems like these grifters like using flat Earth measurements when they suggest the ground's spherical. No, you're just a con man, Dave. Because I know this video has been utilised to suggest sphericity, but all you're doing is measuring this. A 47 degree angle from a flat plane. Earth's measured flat for Dave's degrees, 47 of them from the horizontal plane of reference of Earth's surface, from the, quote, ground that Toon had to lie about when he also measured these exact same degrees from a baseline in, well, alleged to be in Antarctica alongside Dave, who also measured a flat plane with azimuth and altitude when looking at the sun for a 24-hour period, because they all measured Earth flat for a 24-hour period. Other than Dumbo Dave, who couldn't quite cope with his own tripod.
We have another response, Nathan. I'll make this the last one so I don't interrupt your show. And the flat Earth surface outward from that point does not correspond to the irregular surface of the shifty Sahara sand dunes.
No, we've measured every inch of it. So the deviating topographical nature of sand dunes, I will grant you, right? They're shifting. So therefore you can't constantly have a map that says this sand dune will be this high. So, I mean, you've got me there. But how high or low the shifting sand dunes are, if you were to measure them over time, would be how high they were with respect to sea level. Their altitude, as they shift, would be measured from a plane in the vertical, wouldn't it? Like Dave when he decides to measure altitudes and say how high you are when looking at the two different rotation points above you. Like the stars always are, like stars generally are above you, according to Dave. Yeah, they are. They're always above you. Above being a planar description, always and without exception.
It's over in the West in June, and it doesn't reappear.
In the West, you say? Like describing azimuthal horizontal directionality, Dave? It's almost like you don't realise you're such a clown and you're using flat Earth measurements non-stop. It's almost like you don't realise how flat you're describing this, Dave. It's almost like you're dumb as all shit. Yeah, you're a grifter, a con man, a scammer, Dave. Don't use flat Earth measurements of directionality in the horizontal called azimuth to describe movements of lights when you're suggesting and inferring that they have something to do with sphericity. Au contraire, Dave. These are flat Earth measurements, you fucking grifter. I expect you to remove your YouTube channel. You've proven Earth's flat with your measurements of a flat Earth. Azimuth's only ever capable of a horizontal description. So you're a scammer. You're conning people. I realise that the decree of Congress got you where you were when they told YouTube to make you, the scamming grifter that you are, preferred content and suppress me. But I'm just here to point out to the audience what a con man Dave is. He's using flat Earth measurements to suggest and infer some sort of sphericity. No, Dave, no, you're never going to describe movement in horizontal azimuth, right? From a globe? No, in a globe, maybe, after you convert these flat Earth measurements you're using. But that definitely isn't going to change how flat you had to measure Earth for them. You con man, you grifter, you scammer.
Again until mid-November when it rises in the east.
Rises, you say? Well, as in moving in the vertical with respect to the horizontal? That sort of rising. Oh, well, I mean, obviously I could use the adenoidal Dumbo called Gertrude Perkins to example. My sunrise and sunset only works on a plane. Yeah, to be rising or setting is a description in the vertical with respect to a plane. Why do these grifters, these con men, these scammers, these underhanded con men like Dave McKeegan keep using flat Earth measurements and descriptions like rising? Why? Stop using flat Earth terminology to infer your religious belief that's extracted from these flat Earth measurements. You fricking con man.
It's like if you were to sit on a spinning office chair.
Yeah, that's more like it, Dave. It's like if you rotated about an axis in the horizontal and described north there and south there in a horizontal degree. Now, that's a flat Earth description when you rotate about your axis on the planar surface of your room and describe azimuth like you're rotating on a chair, Dave. Yeah, that's right. It seems at some basic level you understand how flat you are measuring Earth when you rotate about an axis in the horizontal to describe north in the horizontal and south in the horizontal and east and west for a rotational movement in the horizontal. So this is definitely a horizontal measurement then. Yeah, it's only ever capable of being described with respect to a flat plane. It's called azimuth and altitude. Oh, well, by chance, I've actually got a diagrammatical example of exactly that to show my audience exactly what Dave's describing when he describes rotating about his chair. It would be like rotating around this horizontal plane with the axis being where it says zenith. That would be the axis of his chair that he's rotating around. When you go from south to west to north to east, that would be you rotating around a flat plane in a horizontal degree. You can describe the degree like 0 and 180 in the horizontal that Dave's appealing to. Yeah, that must make your noggin scratch a little bit. Why would somebody who thinks they're on a ball only appeal to these flat Earth measurements? Well, I'll tell you, I can answer that question. It's very simple. It's because Dave McKeegan's a con man, a scammer, a grifter, somebody who likes deceiving his audience and conning them out of money. Somebody who's getting sponsored to lie to his audience, to lie about how spherical Earth is, whilst employing flat Earth only measurements. What a scumbag. What a con man. What a complete grifter Dave McKeegan is, using his flat Earth measurements to infer and suggest sphericity. Total con man. If you want to read more about flat Earth measurements like azimuth and altitude, used in all circumstances and without exception, you should check out my book. It's called Measured Flat, like Dave's Measuring Earth Flat. These examples aren't exclusive to Dave McKeegan, the conning grifter. It's how all measurements are always measured. of Earth's surface, flat for horizontal degrees, in this case called azimuth, that Dave's appealing to. If you want to read more about how Earth's measured flat, go and buy a copy of my book, Measured Flat. It's $14.97. Link is in the info box below this video. Check it out.
Flat earthers are using lights in the sky as evidence for the shape of the ground.
Well, you're half right. You are using flat earth measurements of lights in the sky, Dave. It's just you're a con man, and then going on to say that these flat earth measurements of lights in the sky somehow prove your sphere that you think you're in, when you're not lying about being on it. Now, in order for these to work with the celestial sphere, you need to be in a globe after mathematising it from these flat earth measurements after the fact. And suggesting that you're inside a ball on an equatorial plane, that you'd use these back-engineered flat earth measurements of angles on the plane in your globe with the celestial sphere wrapped around that. That's how it'd work. Now, Dave's a liar, a con man, a grifter, who later in this very video I've taken these edits from, suggested that this meant we were on a sphere? What, getting angles and horizontal direction? Absolutely not. Just a con man, like all of them. Thieves, grifters, con men and scammers. That's what we've got on the anti-flat earth side of this discussion. A load of con men. Dave's just one of them. He's the tip of the iceberg. Tip being perpendicular to a plane.
Bring up the 24-hour Antarctic sun. It's like if you were to sit on a spinning office chair.
That's right, Dave. If you're going to describe measuring Earth flat for a 24-hour period like everyone in Antarctica did, other than you dumb bastard, then you'd be describing the azimuthal directionality in a 360-degree rotation horizontal, like north, south, east and west, described with respect to a plane when you rotate about an axis, like your pivot point for your equatorial plane if you knew how to use it and weren't completely incompetent. Because you didn't quite manage it, did you, Dave? Manage what, you say? Measuring azimuth in the horizontal for a 24-hour period. That was beyond Dave. He had one job and he failed. Completely. Like, miserably. Not only is a con man and a grifter, he's incompetent too. That's why we only got this much footage from him, because he couldn't quite cope with his own frickin' tripod when measuring Earth flat with azimuth. Couldn't quite cope with it. One job, Dave, you dumbo. You know, he's got a promotion. His sponsor is somebody who's offering education packages. And you've got Dave promoting them. I mean, do they know who you are, Dave? Do they know how incompetent you are? I don't think they do. I mean, maybe your sponsor should know how utterly incompetent you are while you lie about flat Earth only azimuthal directionality measurements somehow being spherical. No, that just makes you a con man, a grifter, a scammer. That's what it makes you, Dave. Make no mistake.
Stars are mainly the ones up and overhead.
Up and over, you say, Dave? Like up? That sort of direction? Yeah, the stars are always above us. Yeah, no, they're never conceptually below us when we take flat Earth measurements and turn them into an equatorial plane that would have to be antipodal to describe south stars being that way. Sorry, that seems to make me have a little brain fart. South being that way? Let's just check if that's the case, because obviously we've got some con men, grifter, scammers who believe they're on a ball, suggesting that south is that way. Let's just check. Oh no, south that way. It's horizontal. It's a degree. Like when Dave describes it as a rotation akin to an office chair. Yeah, south's not that way. In fact, it's got a fallacy named after it. It's called the wrong direction fallacy. When idiot con men, grifter, scammers like Dave here suggest that south is, with respect to the axis he's rotating about, just stupid, ignorant nonsense from a scamming grifter. That's all it is. Any comments while I flick back screens?
Would like to say that every point he's tried to make thus far has become moot because of his descriptions of Earth as a flat plane.
Yes.
Yep. You know what I find? You're doing it on here, and in the chat we're articulating how Earth is measured, and some random guy just comes in and says, "Do you think we're in a simulation?" This is designed. I mean, really? We're laying down facts here.
Sorry, these aren't simulated measurements. Dave is describing actual measurements of stars. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go into Stellarium and put the measurements that you would describe these with into the future or into the past in this program. But Stellarium works with coordinates and is planar. It utilizes azimuth and altitude. That's what he's using. He's using a planar system of azimuth and altitude to describe flat Earth only measurements in reality. Do you think Dave's describing north in a fucking simulation? No, he's just describing north and south. In reality, they're directions. You think when he says, I've got a 47 degree from a flat plane when I look at this star, he's describing simulated stars or the ones he sees in reality? No, he's describing measuring Earth flat for a degree. That's what he's doing. In reality. Yeah, I understand that he's representing reality with a software program for ease of use. And describing how in the software program he can rotate his position in azimuthal directionality to look south when he turns around on a plane. But that doesn't mean he's in a simulation. He's just describing turning around and looking south. That's not complicated. It's just a flat Earth measurement this con man's using to tell his audiences that they're on a ball. They're not. They're using flat Earth measurements. That should be really obvious.
Equator can still see the celestial pole.
Equator, you say? As in the minimum elevation angle to Polaris minus from 90 times by 60 to give us a radial value in flat linear distance nautical miles, so we can extrapolate out this value in circumferential terms for you to call it an equator? You'll need a flat Earth for that, my friend. This concept, the equator, means that these angles have something to do with the equator then? Yeah, you describe them from the equatorial plane inside a ball. Now, obviously, my audience aren't mental or being grifted and conned to by you, so they understand that they're not inside a ball on an equatorial plane. But for the angles to be measured, like 47 degrees from the horizontal, would mean that they have to be with respect to a plane, right? Yeah, your plane, for your dumbass globe faith, is inside a ball. Nobody's inside a ball. But we're definitely measuring 47 degrees from a plane. That's what 47 degree measurement in reality, not in a simulation, is. A 47 degree angle measurement from a plane. That's what it is. Earth being measured flat for Dumbo Dave McKeegan's lies and deceit when he cons and grifts his audience.
Especially
it's strange though, Nathan, like John's just said, now we're doing this and we've been doing it for a while. It's just amazing. Every other word, like John just said, he's just handing you the flat Earth measurements on a pillow, and he doesn't realise what he's doing. But it's so good to just point this out and listening to him do it. It's amazing.
I understand what you've said, because when I'm in debate, people come along and give me a flat Earth measurement. But as I said at the beginning of this, it's inconsequential if I talk about this. Dave will have measured Earth flat with azimuth and altitude, regardless of our involvement. This is just a folly. For me, it's just a bit of entertainment. Now, for Dave, he's conning people. He's scamming people. He's telling them that this flat Earth measurement system that he's literally measuring with respect to a flat Earth somehow proves his religion's true. Now, that's what con men do. So it's a little bit more serious when our opposing so-called side suggests that these flat Earth measurements actually affirm their religious belief. That makes them con men. But me talking about it, it's inconsequential, it's moot, it's just entertainment. Because why? Well, Earth would have been measured flat regardless of whether or not I pointed it out. Dave would have still gone out and measured azimuth and altitude. Go ahead.
Nathan, you can make light of it all you want. How the hell do you know that this book that you just wrote that's out, that people are going to get their hands on it, and that's not going to be the one thing that opens people's eyes up all across the plane? You don't know that. You can say inconsequential all you want.
It is.
But common people are understanding this.
But then what would it change? So me finding it out, even with expert status, 10 years, 12 years in the subject matter, have I had any influence over what Dave went out a couple of days ago and measured? Did I have any influence over how and what was and can only be measured with respect to a plane? Have I had any influence over it? No. If I would never been born, Dave would have still gone out and measured direction in the horizontal and altitude with respect to a plane. That's all that can be measured. So when you say, well, you're going to open people's eyes, well, would it have changed how they measured it? Would it have changed anything? Do you get a prize? Do they get a prize? Well, I don't understand what you mean. I don't agree. Fundamentally, I disagree. Sorry.
You're saying inconsequential. It's a measurement, yeah, because that's the way it is. But a lot of people don't know this.
But they don't need to.
It's eye-opening.
They don't need to. If they didn't know it, and then they went out and measured it, so let's say you were not only ignorant of what we are pointing out, the Earth's flat by way of how it is only capable of being measured, and then the person who was unaware of that, and also unaware that there was a whole load of con men like Dave McKeegan suggesting that the flat Earth measurements actually infer their religious belief of being on a ball given to them by the Roman Catholic Church. If the person that we're talking about hypothetically had no concept of either of those things, and they went out and measured Earth, they'd still measure it flat. Now let's take somebody who does know both. They know that there's people out there, con men, grifters, liars, scammers like Dave McKeegan, liars like McToon, who use flat Earth measurements, and then they understood that we pointed out that the people who say, when they're lying and conning and grifting, we're on a ball, use flat Earth measurements. When that person now knows both of those situations, and they went out and actually put into practical application an Earth measurement, they would still measure it flat. So in both scenarios, complete ignorance of globe and anti-globe and or / flat Earth, and someone who's completely ignorant of all of the above, both would measure Earth flat if they ever measured it. Now in this case, we've got somebody who's saying Earth's a ball, and they're still measuring Earth flat. Dave is measuring Earth flat. It didn't need any interjection from me. It didn't need my eyes being open to it as an onlooker. And Dave now saying, oh yeah, I understand, given that Nathan's made it absolutely unequivocally, explicitly clear that I am, and I can't really deny it, when I've described a degree from a flat plane, measured Earth flat. Would it change anything that Dave suddenly recognises that he's been deceiving his audiences for years and years and years as a conning grifter? No, it wouldn't make any difference. The fact that people are taken in from an entertainment standpoint, while a con man called Dave McKeegan tells them, wrongly, that flat Earth measurements mean we're on a ball. It wouldn't make any difference.
Calm down, won't it? If people's eyes are open, it'll shut that con game right down, right?
Yeah, if people recognise that Dave's lying and he's using flat Earth measurements, then the one thing that might change, I'll give it you, you've reached and you've found something. You've clutched at those straws and you've grabbed one. He would no longer be able to con people with deceit and lies. Yes, that is one thing that if everyone recognised, and that's probably why we have them brace against us, because we essentially expose them as the conning, grifting, scamming men that they are when they use flat Earth measurements to suggest veracity and affirm their religious Roman Catholic Church viewpoint of heliocentrism. When they realise that they're using flat Earth measurements to do it, then yes, they are exposed as con men.
Well, I think you and Neil might be talking at cross purposes, because I don't think Neil's saying that the physical world will be changed in any way, but he's saying that the societal constructs that are built on trust will be eroded. So a government agency like NASA will be in a hard spot if people realize this fact about reality.
Bingo.
I think what I was saying as well, just to not go to keep it on, but when I first mentioned what I said about just noticing these things now, I was just sort of reminiscing, like, if you go back 5 years ago, we missed all these keywords. If you was reviewing this video 5 years ago, Nathan, you probably wouldn't be responding to the way you are now. You'd be maybe going down the road of into Nana land or talking about something else. But you're not. You're just pointing out how Dave is using flat Earth measurements. And I'm just saying it's amazing how where we are now and just picking up on it straight away when we never used to do that. We would have been, talking about a piece of nonsense with Dave rather than just saying you're measuring Earth flat, Dave. I think that was what I was saying.
What do you say? It's my birthday. It is my birthday.
Everybody
Happy
should
birthday.
send Nathan $10 today.
That's right. Everybody should smash the super chat. It's only reasonable given it's my birthday today. Now, I wouldn't want to be seen to be e-begging just because it's my birthday, but it is sincerely my birthday today, just in case you didn't know. Now, I did, as I say, ask the people not to mention it, but, you know, I can't out what one deck just did. He did specifically mention it.
Listen, I have a plan on becoming a millionaire. If everybody in the world would send me a penny, I'll be okay.
No, in all sincerity, though, smash the super chat if you did want to support this channel. Obviously, as is always the case, please hit me up via PayPal, Patreon, join as a member, all those good things. But moreover, I'd be more grateful if people just bought a copy of my book. It's been doing exceptionally well. So if you haven't already, check out Measured Flat. There is a link in the info box below this video. And as I said in the intro to the live show, there's already people making money off the back of this book. And not just making money, making the same that I make off it. So if you want to make 30% off Measured Flat, which in my humble opinion is the best flat earth book you could possibly buy. It is outstanding. And the reviews that I've been getting back from people and the compliments I've been getting back affirm that. When people are sending me money telling me how wonderful they found the book. So thank you very much to all of you who've sent money and joined as an affiliate. Like I say, there are people literally making money off the back of it by posting the link to the book with an affiliate. Obviously, link, you can't just post my link or that'll make me money and not you. But if you join as an affiliate, you can then post the link that you get underneath your video or your TikTok or whatever it is that you do. And then you can make the same amount of money from the book sale as I do. So check it out if you did want to become an affiliate. Really, really pleased for the amount of people who've set up an affiliate account already because they've already started making money from selling books. So that's great that I can actually say that whilst looking down the camera because that encourages others to do the same when they hear that somebody's making bank off my book by selling it as an affiliate. Shout out, getting loads of super chats. Wow, $100 super chat. Right, let's do a few shout outs. Go ahead, do whoever it was, and then we'll do some super chat shout outs.
I was just going to point out to the audience, if they are going to press the subscribe button or press the affiliate link, that you will always describe that motion with respect to a plane of reference, and it's changed from being not depressed to depressed.
Right, shout out to Never a Straight Answer. Happy birthday, Nathan. I think I already covered that one at the early part of the show. Also, shout out to What Is Life, bro, who sent a super chat and just sent me a super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate the support. Also, FE Patriot, wow, $100. Really appreciate the support. He says, cheers, Nathan. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the support, all of you. I'll give you all a like and a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let's give you all hearts. Heart. I can't get to the one of the...
Nathan.
Yes.
What's the criteria for getting an affiliate? Is there like a certain criteria?
No, just wanting to sell the book.
Anybody get it?
Yeah, even if you were Simon Dan legitimately wanting to sell a book that you'd actually purchased rather than stolen, then you could sign up as an affiliate link. You just have to leave your name and email address. Then the publisher gets in touch with you and says, yes, I've approved you as an affiliate account. He then sends you your affiliate link, and then at whatever stage, because you could immediately start using it. If he approved you within the hour, you could have an affiliate link within the hour. Normally it takes him a day or two, but let's say 24 hours later, you've got an affiliate link, and then you have to go back into the website to set up. The way I did it was something called Stripe, which is just a banking facilitator that just allows it to automatically pay you when a book sells. So the book then gets sold via your affiliate link that you've got, or via the QR code that you can use if you prefer doing it that way. And when somebody buys it, they pay the publisher, get a downloadable copy of the book, and you get $5. It's not quite $5, but you know what I'm saying, 30%. So yeah, that's it. It's really, really, really... I think that's why people have set it up, because it's so easy. You just leave your email address. It's dead easy. But no, there's no criteria. You don't have to be friend or foe. You just have to want to sell a book. So if you're a YouTuber...
Yeah, but you have to have a YouTube channel, right?
No. If you were popular on Facebook and wanted to have an affiliate link that was capable of earning you money, and you were promoting that link in posts on Facebook, if that's allowed, I'm not a big Facebook person, but I assume it is, then you could post links and have people buy the book via your link and still make the same amount I would. You'd make 30%, I'd make 30%, so would the publisher. So it doesn't matter. Wherever you want to publish a link that someone can click on it, if they click on it and buy a book from it, you'll earn money from it. It doesn't have to be below a YouTube video. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason why and where it has to be. It can be anywhere. It's just an affiliate link. Wherever you can post a link to click on is where it is potentially going to earn you money if you wanted to be selling Measured Flat as an affiliate. Like I say, that's probably why it's become so popular so quickly, because people like me, I said this yesterday, I remember 5 years ago, I really wish, as much as I was knocking them was capable of selling crappy Raycon Chinese headphones because it meant that I'd have something to say. And by the way, this video is sponsored by X sponsor, and buy the product below, hoping that I'd get a percentage of the sale by promoting them. That's the only reason people join affiliate programs, so you get a commission. Well, to have something to offer up to other YouTubers and go, are you one of those people that have gone, I really wish I had an item that I could sell below my video? It's like it wouldn't matter if it was toothbrushes or ovens. In this case, it's a book. It's a thing that you can sell if you are a YouTuber or a TikToker or a Facebooker or whatever, you know, prevalent on X. If you can post a link in whatever means that it is you've got to distribute links via. Somebody said to me the other day, one of the affiliates, can I print out the QR code as a sticker and sticker bomb it out in the public? And I was like, yeah. So somebody, I assume this has now started happening because it was a little while ago, has been printing out QR codes and slapping them out in public so people can go and scan them with a phone and it takes them to Measured Flat from the QR code to their affiliate link. Obviously, they get the 30% when that book sells if someone scans their QR code. But that's not on YouTube. That's in a phone box or wherever. You know what I mean? Anyway. Oh, I got a whirly whirl on a video that's mine. With my gigabit internet. Right, we'll talk amongst ourselves until it comes back in. Yeah, so check out, I'll just do another plug for the book. So check out Measured Flat if you haven't bought a copy already. It's already been well received. The only other plug I've got to do is to suggest that you do actually do a review from it. So there's been 2 weeks now or so since the book has come out. There's obviously going to be enough people presumably out there that have actually bought it and read it to do a little review on the website. So if you are so inclined, write a couple of lines, give it a 5-star review, and then hopefully you'll get a published link below the Measured Flat publication on the website under the section that says reviews. Somebody's already done a review. I read it a couple of days ago and gave it a 5-star review and was very complimentary about the content of the book. So thank you very much indeed. I can't remember the name of the person off the top of my head, but thank you very much indeed. And obviously I'll thank any future reviewers and probably read them out if they're good. So yeah, hopefully there's a few more people that will do a review for the book, and I hope it continues to sell. I hope a few more people sign up as affiliates. Like I say, I'm a bit overwhelmed with the amount of people who have done it already, but I hope that does continue. Right, 1, 2, 3. Let's just restart.
Stars are mainly the ones
that
one
second. I just want to find the same
especially
place I was in. Just 1 sec. Okay, go ahead. Still got the whirly whirl.
I think, the point that, we are irrelevant to the subject may take the wind out of some people's sails, as in putting comments below your book if they realize that it's inconsequential whether they know or not. They may be too depressed to write a comment.
Are you trying to guilt me into saying that it's super consequential? Earth's Measured Flat regardless of our involvement. I can't change my position on that. Right, if I've had to introspectively tell myself how inconsequential I am with regards to Earth's measurements, I can't by all rights turn around to an audience and say, this is super consequential, and write me a review. Write me a review because you liked reading the book.
No, you should be saying I'm inconsequential to how Earth is measured. Because, yes, I'll agree. But the effects of people coming to an understanding of how Earth is measured, it's groundbreaking if this goes viral like I want it to.
I hope that the sales continue to trickle in because it's supporting me and my family. It's keeping me out of the red, keeping me in the black, however you want to phrase it. And I'm delighted that it's achieving the ends I hoped it would achieve. So from that perspective,
I was just kidding with you, Nathan. About the whole writing a review. Yet, to anybody watching Nathan's show, it would probably be really good if somebody who wasn't on the panel or didn't speak regularly wrote a review with their honest opinion.
So I've now got a constant whirly whirl on this Dave McKeegan video. Like, YouTube does not want me to play this video.
That's my point. We're being attacked from all angles. This ain't by coincidence.
Yeah, just will not play.
Those angles are with respect to a plane, Neil.
Hey, even that guy that was interviewing Tamara, he even said he acknowledged that you've been helpful in his flat earth. I forgot how he worded it, but he heard of you. He knew of who you are. So I don't get it.
Get what? I'm sorry. I missed the point of that.
I don't get why Nathan is not more freaking popular than what he is. If oh yeah, I know Nathan. Even that guy, the other guy that has all the bots.
Nathan may have a lower subscriber count, but what he is kind of like a progenitor. So the people that have the big numbers that want to either promote the Feast of Nonsense or debunk the Feast of Nonsense are aware of what we do here, because it kind of ripples out from here and gets diluted as it goes. So the information isn't as concise or understandable, and people always throw in their agendas and their perspective on the way that they share that information. So it's going to, but it always changes the rhetoric. We've seen that real time.
It doesn't look like YouTube want to tolerate me covering the rest of this Dave McKeegan video, because it is non-stop whirly well. So I might round out the live show, because it's literally, what can I do? I can't make it play. You know what I mean?
Could you close out the window and reopen it?
I could try that, like open a brand new tab with it in.
Yeah. I know I had a trouble like that with YouTube, and I'd have to close
If they're at a high enough elevation, look down and you'll see another one on the floor.
Yep, got it. Yep, good call. Right, let's carry on. He says it does not want to work. No, just doesn't want to know.
You can see both axes of rotation.
As soon as I go into it, it starts pausing again. So as soon as I go into a different tab, it starts playing. When I go back onto it, it gets the whirly well. Unbelievable. Gigabit
You're
internet.
fighting the principalities.
Close the browser. Reopen the whole browser.
Stars are mainly the ones up and over.
No, does not want to know. Constant whirly well.
Yeah, I think it's your browser's messed up. I think you might have to close your internet browser out and reopen it like that gentleman just suggested.
Well, like I say, it works when I open a new tab. It's not going to be our day.
Close the browser. Whole thing. Open it again.
Okay. Well, talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll try closing out the browser and opening it again.
Because I got to talk to Neil. Neil.
Go.
I forgot what I was going to say. You go.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why Nathan is not way more popular. If all these people, when you mention him, and say, "Oh yeah, I know Nathan." Well, why aren't you knocking down the door asking for an interview? Especially when you find out he's got a book out. Get it going, man.
To know of somebody.
The equator can still see the celestial poles, especially if they're at a high enough elevation. Look down and you'll see another one on the floor. You can see both axes of rotation. Ursa Major is close to the horizon.
See? I've opened a completely new browser. Fresh. Still doing exactly the same thing.
That son of a gun just said that Ursa Major, you can see both points of rotation, and that Ursa Major is close to the horizon.
Yep.
Yes, there is much more devastating stuff in this video clip, but clearly, for whatever reason, it's not wanting to be aired. So, like I say, I've got gigabit internet. I've got the fastest quality internet you can get. It's the most expensive available. It's on fiber optic. This is what I get. A low-res video doesn't want to play during a live stream. Absolutely no reason whatsoever why this video shouldn't play. I've now loaded it twice in different tabs on the same browser screen, opened up a brand new browser screen, exactly the same thing.
I told you why. You're fighting against the prince of the power of the air. He controls the airwaves.
Maybe. Anyway, it's going to be a reason for me to...
McKeegan could work that computer, all right?
Oh, I'm sure when you're covering me and you've got a book that you've stolen from me and you've decided that as a YouTuber you're not worthy of paying $15 that might support somebody you disagree with, then I'm sure you can easily present all of these things to criticise me as a flurf. But when I want to criticise Dave McKeegan literally using flat earth only measurements, I'm confronted with a whirly whirl with gigabit internet because I'm live. Total bullshit. Anyway, anybody got any last comments before we round out this live stream?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
The 2 points of rotation, as described within the celestial sphere model, to give you polar points, is with respect to a plane. You're inside a ball on a flat plane when you describe that. So it has to be flat to describe it.
Yeah, you say all of that, and my son will still turn around and say, yeah, but there's 2 points in the sky.
Yes, the 2 points that must be described from a flat plane.
No, he'll say that can only work on a globe.
No, it can only be described from a flat plane.
That's all you say, John. Can't you talk about something else, like calculation or something?
I blame the parents, Neil.
I know, right? Yeah, I blame the parents too. That's pretty funny.
John F. Kennedy spent the
stars are mainly the ones up and overhead, especially if they're at a high enough elevation, which...
Well, what I'll do is I'll play it out as a shorts video, so I've got 2 different versions. What I'll do as soon as we finish this live stream is I will publish the shorts version so that if push comes to shove and it won't play past 1 minute 25 seconds, I can at least let the audience know where the video is as a shorts video. Oh, of course it won't let me freaking position it so it's above me in the shot. Oh, this is so frustrating. There we go. Right, if we can talk amongst ourselves for the first 35 more
Soul
seconds.
says download the video and play it.
Oh yeah, that's just what I want to do when I'm live to an audience, gathering up super chats, telling people that it's my birthday. Yeah, I just want to download it in the middle of a live stream and then re-upload. Yeah, bullshit, right? It should just play. I've got 2 versions of it. Anyway.
I like the edited videos that ballers put out where they stutter in their own videos that they've edited.
Yeah, I like that too.
Is awesome.
Right, we're roughly where we were previously, so we'll just see if it will let us play through on the shorts version of the same video.
Overhead, people at the equator can still see the celestial poles, especially if they're at a high enough elevation. Look down and you'll see another one on the floor. You can see both axes of rotation. Ursa Major is close to the horizon in the north, with its shape orientated so that its feet are nearest the ground. But if I jump forwards or backwards by 6 months to midnight on February 28th, still looking north, Ursa Major now appears on the other side of Polaris with its feet sticking up in the air. However, if we compare the views looking south, it's like if you were to sit on a spinning office chair. These are the stars that we can see. Looking straight south at midnight in London, you can see Rho Leonis at around 47 degrees altitude, rises in the east. It's like if you were to sit on a spinning office chair, which you can verify by taking where it's placed in relation to the rest of the stars in the celestial sphere. If we have this person on the Earth looking straight up, on the Earth looking straight up, up. If you sit on the chair bolt upright, that is like somebody standing on the equator looking straight up. Looking straight up. Stars are mainly the ones.
Did you see that?
That's why I decided to do the video. Those 2 clips at the end, totally unrelated to the rest of the video. Right? It's just him with his cartoons. But when he says, well, that's like somebody looking straight up, or that's somebody looking up, you're like, oh my God, really? When you got your stupid globe cartoons, you will literally tell your audience that looking that way is up. Nutcase, conman, grifter, Dave. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's not up, you stupid idiot. Anyway, that was it. That was the full video.
That was hilarious. The up thing.
Yeah, that would
because
be.
it's where you're relative to. Like on that part of the globe, yeah, you're looking up when you're standing totally sideways. Go figure.
But it's never a curved surface when you describe up. Have you noticed that?
No, it's an outward. It's got to be outward.
No. When they're describing their up, it's always with respect to a plane. They've just rotated the plane instead of rotating the stars to get their up.
Cool. Well, we got all the way through, so I can at least keep my short schedule exactly as it was, and that'll get released tomorrow, as we managed to finally get through it after about 5 different attempts. Anyway, have we got any final comments?
There is no up and down in a globe. There's only in and out.
Yeah. Up is a description with respect to horizontal. Down is also a description with respect to horizontal. North is a horizontal 0 that you can describe other degrees from when you describe azimuth. It's a horizontal directionality system. South is 180 degrees with respect to the true direction of north. That's how north and south are described. Yeah? That is an up. Unless you are deranged and a con man. That's what Dave is, a con man. When he tells you that's up, no, he's a con man. That's not up. Neither's that. Yeah? Now, if you're idiotic and Dave says, if I take a 47-degree angle from a flat earth, that means that that's up. No, it's not. Yeah, don't be conned by these grifters, these scammers, these con men like Dave McKeegan. Yeah? Know what up means. It's perpendicular to a plane of reference in all examples. Know what north is. That's north. It's a horizontal directionality and always will be. And it doesn't matter who you are or what your belief is, you'll still use north in the horizontal. Like when Dave spins around his chair to describe looking south. Yeah, it's a flat earth directionality that Dave's appealing to when he lies to you and cons you. When he says that he's gone to the Antarctic regions to describe azimuth and measure the sun for 24 hours, other than he's too dumb to use a tripod, then he's describing the rotation in the horizontal from north. That's azimuth. That's how they measured Earth. If they are even to be believed when they said they went down there, they didn't go down when they went south. South's a horizontal direction. Going south isn't down. Like, that's not down, Dave, and that's not down, Dave. You're just a nutter, a con man, a grifter, a scammer, ripping people off. Anyway, any other final comments? Oh, the sweat pours off me and into my eyeballs. No. With that, I will say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Reality.
Done. I'm sure he'll get back to me with his order number, demonstrating his complete innocence in this regard. Dear Charlotte, firstly, thank you for your purchase and subsequent coverage of my new book, Measured Flat. I am delighted that you can make a commercial profit from my hard work publishing this material as a means to support my family. However, it has been brought to my attention that the book shown in your video has all the hallmarks of an illegally downloaded, pirated version of my book. As you are aware, piracy is a crime. Obviously, I want to assure any who suggest you are a common thief that this is not the case, and you have legitimately purchased a copy of my copywritten material. Please can you provide me with an order number provided you when you purchase the book, so I can assure any who suggests otherwise that you are not a frickin' whirly whirl. Bullshit. I'll give up.
We'll even be calling down Simon Dan a pirate.
Pirate, profiting from stolen material. I'm sure there is a perfectly reasonable explanation why the book shown in your... Unbelievable.
I think it's because I'm here today. If I left, I bet you the whirly world would go away too.
Nah. Regardless.
It's like the measurements, whether I'm here or not, you know what I mean?
I give up. Video matches pirated versions of my book. I look forward to your swift response. For clarification, I am asking you for the, quote,
I was just thinking, John, you said the PV equals LRT. Well, V is volume, and volume is length, width, length,
Order
width, and
number,
height.
end quote. You acquired
Yes,
when... Oh, fuck you, stupid video.
Yes, Mr. Sensible, that is correct. You do need a flat earth to describe gas pressure.
So what was your point?
Oh, calculation can't debunk measurement. Calculation is solely there to put elements of calculation together so we can better understand a process or, the natural world. You're never going to change the measurement with calculation. It's still going to be that measurement.
Fair enough.
I'm going to say goodbye to the neighbour's dog. Bye-bye, Barney.
Well, they're putting it down.
You have to bring up
No, they're not
dogs.
putting it
I
down.
was just getting over it.
It's going back to the neighbour. Giving it to my daughter. Right, put him down. Not put him down as in kill him. As in put him on the floor.
You mean lower him is with respect to a plane of reference?
Yes, lower him with respect to a parallel plane of reference.
Well, where we brought my dog to, they gave us like this little ceramic footprint, and they send it back to you. And my son's had him cremated. He's paying for it, so kind of sad though when you got him around for 13 years and then like you're looking at this empty space where he used to frequent, and now it's just empty. So it's always good to borrow a dog like Nathan does.
Are you having
Well,
him with ketchup or barbecue sauce?
Oh my goodness.
He's a hot dog. It's got to be tomato sauce, ketchup.
My favorite dog I ever owned was actually a Dachshund.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really good dog.
Well, the thing is, with the dogs, not the neighbor's dog, you never get attached enough to worry about anything because you are getting something where within tops 20 years, you're going to be freaking depressed.
But you don't buy them for 20 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many times do you think of your dog and you just think of them dead? When you think of them, you got the memories attached to them. That's what you get the dog for.
Yeah.
Most dogs are purchased by or for a partner or child that's all excited about getting the dog, and then within 6 months it has the partner or child has no interest in walking the dog, and it becomes the husband / father's responsibility to walk, feed, take to the vet. You know what I mean?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's why we end up getting attached to them damn mutts.
Right. I took care of him in his final days. I had dogs since I was a kid, but I never watched one die in front of my eyes. Like, my mother took them and got rid of a few of them. I had this one dog I found. It was jet black, so I named him Dog Vader. Got him as a puppy, but he became a vicious dog. My mother had to get rid of it. Maybe because I used to go out and freaking, I was about 18 and like midnight when it's dark and put on my boxing gear and have the dog come at me and box with him. All I would see was teeth coming at me. I would tag this dog with shots and he would just keep coming. So he became too vicious. My mother had to get rid of him.
Yeah, I did that. I had a pit bull back when I was like 24, 25. and I would wrestle with her. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I'm sure you wasn't trying to hurt him with the boxing gloves. You know, you're just playing.
Oh, he was trying to hurt me.
Well, that's the thing with the pit. That one day she just reached up and she put her jaws over my neck.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I went to jump on her and she just darted out of the way, and I rolled over to sit back up, and she come over and just clamped my neck real quick and then let go. Just sort of like got you.
Yes, she's letting you know. I could have ripped your neck out.
Her again. I never wrestled her ass again. I was like, "Yep, I'm done doing that."
Just letting you know what? Just letting you know that she could definitely kill you. Yes,
Yeah.
she'd definitely let you know. I remember a friend of mine had a Doberman, and Dobermans are thick as shit. They're not very smart, but they know what their territory is. And this particular guy lived on the back of a lake, and I'd grown up with this dog. I'd known it since it was a puppy. I'd spent days and days with it. You know, he knew exactly who I was. But one day I came up the back route through the lake and came up over his fence and up his back garden. And I saw this dog running towards me. I'm like, Barnum! And I'm like putting my arms out like he's coming to hug me. He latched onto my hip and did not let go. And I was screaming, and eventually the guy came down. His actual name was Guy Broad. And he heard me screaming and came down and saw this dog attached to my hip, and he would not nothing I did would get him to let go. Didn't matter why I was punching him in the face, it didn't matter. He wasn't letting go.
Well, Dobermans, my father's partner had a Doberman. He was an oversized Doberman. This one got up to like 99 pounds. His name was Cronus. He used to, Richie was a strong dude too, my father's friend. I called him Bald Bull. He was a strong guy. And one day, like regular, in the morning, he gets up, goes to the bathroom with his coffee, and the dog is laying in the bathroom. And all he did was what he usually does, said, Cronus, get out, pointed his finger, and the dog just jumped at his throat. So the guy, Richie, happened to get his forearm up. So he's got his arm blocking his throat, but the dog is latched onto his forearm. And now he's trying to talk the dog down. And as he's talking, the dog just keeps applying pressure. And he's about ready to pass out. And then his wife heard the commotion. She came in. She screamed. It took 5 guys to get this Doberman off of him.
Do you want to know how to do it? As we're talking about it, there's a specific way.
Yeah, you said something to do. What was that?
What you do is, if they've got a collar on, right, you get your hand around the collar and you twist the collar. That is to say, you rotate the top section so that it's in a figure of 8, so that your fist is making an extra loop, and you tighten the collar, and it induces a gag reflex. If it was a big dog and it was, you know, because you might not be able to put enough pressure on their neck doing that if it's a big dog. This
you gotta yank it, right?
Yeah, you might not get the leverage. But if it was someone else, and you see somebody who's got a dog attached to them, the way you stop that from happening is you get over the dog, you straddle the dog, and you get your hands under its collar and you pull upwards. And if necessary, you put your knees on its back so that you can get more leverage. That induces a gag reflex, and the dog will let go. Any dog, it doesn't matter how big, if you can get that collar to pull. That's why they use choke chains in training dogs. You make them gag, and believe me, they do what you tell them once they've got a choke chain on them. Now, people go, oh, you can't use a choke chain. I'm like, why not? If you want that dog to know that you mean business, there's going to be a point that you've got to let him know that you can hurt it so that it fears you. Now, people are like, oh, you can't make that. You're like, yeah, I want that dog to know it's below me in the pecking order. If it doesn't, it's going to bark and do what it likes and think it's in charge.
Especially if it's a dog like a pit bull or a Doberman. But this Doberman, he had to get rid of the dog. He gave him to another guy, and he attacked this other guy. So the guy, tried to make him a police dog. And he freaking attacked the cops, and they finally had to put him down. His brain, what happens with Dobermans is the head is too narrow for their brain. The brain presses up against the skull.
Yeah, that's just something to remember. If you're ever attacked by a dog, either you or someone else needs to pull that collar up so that it's essentially choking the dog, and then they gag and they let go. As soon as that gag reflex kicks in, they will let go. They've got no choice. Because I see all sorts of stupid shit on the internet. Like, you need to stick your finger up his arse. And like, no, anally raping the dog is not going to make it let go. it might piss it off and bite you next, but it's not going to make it let go. Whereas pulling on its collar, essentially strangling it, that will make it let go. It will gag eventually. And gagging means opening its mouth.
First.
Say again.
You have to lick your finger first before you do that.
A wet willy.
I said lick your finger first.
Can you imagine if you're in a fight, you got somebody, wouldn't that anger you if somebody stuck their finger up your ass?
I would definitely gag.
You pay a lot of money for that in Soho.
I was with this girl one time and she tried that. I was like, what are you doing? This ain't Star Trek. You don't go where no man has gone before. She's like, I thought you might like it. She was like a kinky. I was like, what? This is the one that looked like Cher but talked like Rocky Balboa. It was kind of hard to be around.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like the experience of having a pit bull lock its jaws on your neck.
Well, did he do it quick and let go? Because that to me would be like, if I wanted to, sucker, you would be gone.
Yeah, she did it really quick. It was just she didn't even hurt me. It was gentle almost, but it was still there. It was like, and she knew what she did too, because she was smiling when I set up.
Oh, the funny thing with that dog, Cronus, is right after they got the dog off of him, he walked to his bowl, drank some water, and came back and started licking him like nothing happened. Like, hey, there's my master. You almost freaking killed him, but crazy. When I was doing that deck not too long ago, what was it, last summer? They had a Great Dane. And they're pretty harmless, but they're big. This one dog always barked. He was behind the glass, right? And one day I went up there to get the tools. And for some reason, he must have been out because he came up the stairs and was right there next to me barking. And let me tell you, it's kind of scary when the dog is as big as you and he can bite your head off. Like, his head is right next to my neck. And I know I can't show this dog fear. And I'm trying to talk to him. And the guy I'm working for is right down there. And I'm like, Hal, better get your ass up here. His dog is right next to me. He's like, what? Supposed to be behind the door. I said, he's not behind the door. He's behind me. Anyway, he was
I had something
barking.
similar to that. I had something similar like that happen once. I was getting in my car at a restaurant after eating, and the person next to me had their window down. I didn't look in or nothing. I opened my door and I turned around and looked back at that car, and I come nose to nose with the biggest dog I ever seen in my life. And you can't show fear, but I did. I showed a lot of fear. I got my car quick.
Well, I was right there. I had nowhere to go. He was right on me, and he was barking and growling. I just had to say, look, it's me. I've been working here for a week. You know who I am. I'm not here to harm, because he was very protective of the woman. I remember she told us that from the beginning. He don't bite. He's just overprotective of me. And I'm like, I don't care. One day it could be the one day he does bite. But I tried not to show fear. Then the lady came out and she got him. And I was like, oh, God, that was close. But they're huge. And you know what other dogs are big? The Italian Mastiffs. Say like 3 of them fight a lion. Like, that's their claim to fame. I don't know if they win, but they say 3 of them fight a lion. But my preference is, if I was going to get another dog, it would be the French Mastiffs. But I would have to have space. I'd have to have a house, and I'd have to have him where he has space outside.
And a bulldozer for the crap.
That's the only thing. I wanted to do that as a gag for my sister-in-law, my wife's sister. I said, because her kids wanted a puppy for years, and they wouldn't get him one. So I said, this one guy had Mastiffs. He was basically giving them away. Let's go. Bring it to your sister. It's a puppy. They don't know how big this dog gets. They'll be attached to it, and what are they going to do? Imagine that. All of a sudden, the dog's freaking 5 feet high. I thought it would have been funny.
Yeah, we got a Bernie Doodle a while back. We had to give it away to my mother.
Yeah, my poor little
What's if a
pug. I
dog
had
could
to
take her for a walk?
What was that?
So the dog could take your mother for a walk.
Take you for a walk. Take all of us for a walk. Isn't that weird, though, how you begin to resemble your dog? It's like that in if you're the 101 Dalmatians. At the beginning of that movie, you see the people walking their dog and they look exactly like them. I mean, look at Snoop Dogg.
Well, what's happening in the UK at the moment, there's that many Muslims that they've got this power in numbers mentality going on. So there's videos on YouTube circulating of Muslims just going up to British men with their dogs and attacking the dogs.
Hey, what were those tunnel videos I was looking at?
I was on a canal boat yesterday and there was a tunnel that we went under. Then there was an aqueduct after that. And then we did a couple of locks. Oh, it was a great day.
It looked like it was a really nice day out in England.
Yeah, we're in a heat wave at the minute. It's been so hot this summer. I've never known a summer like it.
Now, what part of England do they film that show, Keeping Up Appearances?
Essex.
That looks like a nice area.
Just outside of
Okay,
London.
resident lady of the house speaking.
She's funny, that lady.
Wait, we spoke about this before, Neil.
I remember talking about it, but I was wondering where the place is, because it looks like a nice area.
That's where we're
I think
from,
it's
bro.
Essex.
That's where me and Dad are all standing right now.
Really?
West of London, I think.
Nah,
Bucket was
this
in
bouquet lives in Leamington.
Nah, it's not in bloody Leamington.
Yeah, bro, like they filmed outside Dad's house up on Bucky
No
Road.
way. Really?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
filmed Keeping Up Appearances here?
Seriously, bro. Seriously,
I did not know
back
that.
to the
I thought it was London way. They filmed it in Leamington. No way. Here.
Most of it, the outdoor scenes. If you check it out, you see Covington, bits of Covington, Lillington. You know the scruffy dude. He lived in Lillington,
No way.
but she lived in Covington.
That's
Would
where
you
I
say
live.
that Only Fools and Horses is a more
Amazing.
accurate depiction of people from Essex?
It is supposed to depict people from Essex, though, isn't it? Because the woman, the scruffy guy that you're talking about, has got that tarty girlfriend, and she talks all Essex.
Hawking, Essex? What's that? Like somebody from Brooklyn?
Yeah, the accent. I had no idea it was filmed here. I was saying the other day that it's posh here. So to find out that Keeping Up Appearances, which is specifically about some middle-class woman who's trying to be upper class, or probably pretending to be middle class when she's actually working class. That would be more accurate, wouldn't it?
Really?
Yeah, so she would be like my mother, right? Working class upbringing, but, you know, earns a decent living and then becomes or wants to move into being middle class. Yeah? Well, that's Hyacinth Bouquet. She's got everyone around her. Her brother's working class, her husband's working class, and she lives in a semi. It's very working class. But she wants to see herself as being better than that. Well, that's middle class. But she's not in some detached 5-bedroom house. She's in a semi. But she talks like she's middle class.
Her name is Mrs. Bucket, but she likes to be called Bouquet.
Exactly. It's Mrs. Bucket, precisely. So she gets the phone call. It's, hello, can I speak to Mrs. Bucket? It's Bouquet!
Hey, you got to take it till you make it.
That's my sister-in-law, though. That is exactly my sister-in-law. We were talking about it. I brought it up. He's like, I love that show. I was like, you know what? You're her.
we used to have a term for certain people who were like that, but were also a bit poorer, which was the term kippers and curtains. Have you guys heard the term kippers and curtains?
No.
What kippers and curtains means is you're twitching the curtains, which are really nice. So you've gone out and bought drapes, I think you call them. You've bought really nice curtains. So from the neighbour's perspective, you look like you're doing well. But inside the house, you're eating kippers, which is a cheap dinner. So your outward appearance is one of affluence, but inside you're eating cheap food. Kippers and curtains. It's the guy who's got a disgusting kitchen. This is me. Disgusting bathroom that needs refitting, but has got a BMW on the driveway, right? So as far as the neighbour's concerned, oh, isn't he doing well? He's got a BMW. Well, inside the house, it needs new carpet and needs decorating. So you're trying to keep up with the Joneses is another way of saying it. It's keeping up with the Joneses. So the guy gets a BMW because he wants to look good to the neighbours, and the neighbour gets one. I had that happen to me when I left home. So I left home quite young. I was about 15, and I was living with a load of students. And before I passed my test, so about a year after moving out, I bought a car. So I won £5,000 in a packet of crisps, a packet of chips, as you call them, hula hoops. They had this winner.
No freaking way.
Yeah. So I was dead poor. I'd got no money, and I went to the local store, and they had out-of-date crisps in this basket, and it was an out-of-date packet of hula hoops. And I opened it, and when I was eating them, suddenly I come across this cellophane sealed cross-shaped hula hoop in red, in bright red. And I opened it, and inside I'd won £5,000. And I remember it, like it was yesterday. I was 16. I wasn't old enough to drive.
Wow.
So I went and bought a Rover, a 214 Rover from the auction, and parked it on the driveway. But I couldn't drive it. I wasn't old enough to drive. But it was there, parked on my driveway. And the next door neighbour, about a month later, went out and bought the same car. I was like, what? And someone had to explain it to me. They're keeping up with the Joneses. I'm like, so in his mind, he thinks I'm rich because I've got this Rover. And I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense because I've just won £5,000. And the week prior, I hadn't got a pot to piss in. I was buying out-of-date crisps. You know what I mean? But suddenly I look wealthy because on the driveway, I'd got a 2 or 3 year old car that I got ex-fleet from the auction. So to him, he's like, oh, he's doing well. He's got a new Rover. It wasn't. It was 2 or 3 years old. But yeah, anyway, the point is that the guy wanted to aspire to me, some 15-year-old, 16-year-old, whatever it was at the time, with this Rover. So he went out and bought one himself so he could look as affluent as his student neighbours. It was bonkers. Wow. Like, we were the kids that were getting the police called because we were having barbecues on his roof. So this house, which was a semi, was attached in 2 different places. One was the house next to the next door neighbour's house, because it's a duplex, as you call it. But the garage was attached to a different neighbour's garage on a different street. Well, this was the guy who'd bought the car. Obviously, my car was parked outside my garage. My garage was attached to his garage. Well, we would have barbecues on the garage, effectively on his property, because we were on top of the roof of his shared garage. So he'd be calling the police on us because he hated us, right? As you'd imagine, we were students causing loads of noise and having parties. And he didn't like that, right? But he would call the police on us one week, and the next week he's copying the car that I'd bought. It was freaking weird.
It's funny you say that. When you say semi, do you mean semi-attached?
Yeah, we call it a semi-detached house. Detached is completely isolated from any other neighbours. Semi-detached is what you guys call a duplex. attached so that there's one building with two occupants, one on the left, one on the right. And I think that they do that to cause... it's divide and rule mentality. The guy who came up with the duplex, right? Nobody wants to involve themselves with another man's business, right? So therefore, being next to each other in a street causes arguments, right? So what would be a solution? Well, have more detachment from your next door neighbour. So what actually happens? I know, we'll build one building and put two people in it. And it causes endless rows, doesn't it?
Yep. And endless competition.
Yeah.
Funny you said it about the curtains because my wife's family, they're Guyanese, British Guyana. And that's one of the main things that they do when they get a house. They get it fitted for fancy curtains.
Yeah. Right. So you can look like you've got an affluence about you when your neighbours look at your building. But I like when my folks moved out, so they were like, my dad was a programmer and my mum worked in the same business selling software that he made and computer networking and all that kind of shit. But they did that in the city. So we lived in the city in Birmingham. And it was, I'm sure I've told you all this before, it was 94% Muslim, and then there's 1% Chinese, 1% white, 1% Sikh, 1% black. You know, there's a very limited ethnic reach beyond the Muslim community that is predominant in that particular part of the world, or in Birmingham specifically, right? And for whatever reason, because they're very culturally different to us, it was a bit miserable for us in that particular community. So my folks desperately wanted to leave. And they went to the other end of the extreme. They moved to this house, this little tiny 500-year-old cottage that was in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't a neighbour within a couple of miles. And occasionally you'd drive past a house and you'd be like, well, is that occupied? Oh, well, it was until about 5 years ago when the husband shot the wife because she was having an affair. That was a fairly recurring theme, people shooting each other with shotguns out in the country. It just never made the news. So you'd be like, there's a lot of murders out here, isn't there? You're like, yeah, when you're working really hard on the farm and your woman cheats on you, you don't muck around. You shoot her in the head. You're like, whoa, scary. But yeah, so people shooting each other out in the country is or I was going to say was because they don't live there anymore, but is a fairly common occurrence, you know, because they've got guns. So they shoot each other, like in the States, right? If you've got guns, people shoot each other with them. Anyway, but that was a different end of the extreme. Like there was no neighbour to get fussy with. You know what I mean? You've got your land around, it gets farmed, and that's it. There's no you're going to deal with. You know, if you ever dealt with anybody, it was the woman in the village. So the gossip would be about the closest proximity person, which is the woman that runs the paper shop or the barmaid. You know what I mean? If you've ever seen Hot Fuzz, like that times 10. Like in Hot Fuzz, everybody knows everybody, but they are actually in a village where they do, you know, generally live within close proximity of each other. Whereas out in Shropshire, where my folks used to live on the farm, there was nobody. When it was like this, it was probably 16, 17 years ago, we had the similar weather to this, and they had a drought. They just ran out of water. Well, because why? Well, because they've got a well, and if the well runs out of water, there's no water. So suddenly the local authority had basically instructed a private entity, which is the water company, Severn Trent in this example, to turn up with a giant tanker to provide the people in the area, you know, within maybe a 30-mile or 20-mile radius, to get water. So there's just this giant tank that you can go and fill up about a dozen or so totes with water and take them back home, so you've got water. And eventually
all the greater good.
Well, they eventually did a borehole. They actually had to give one of those. I remember this enormous machine, like the Kohler borehole, right? The machine that dug that. They had that digging a giant well, going down. I can't remember now what the depth was, but some horrendous depth. And eventually it hit water. And then the guy with the sticks. You ever seen the divining rods? You ever seen a guy do that? They had that to find the water. Guy walking around on the property.
I heard Tent Man explain it.
I thought it was hokum. I thought it was on his farm. I thought it was hocus pocus. You know, like Ouija boards, and you know, when people talk about people out with the rods.
No, that's real.
No, it's real. That's how they did it. And then you're talking about tens of thousands of pounds being spent to drill. So It's not mucking around. They're talking big money. Even more now. It'd probably be 100 grand these days to do the same thing that they did when they did it. But your guy comes out with his divining rods. I think it's something about the term divining that makes it sound hokey, right? And he finds where the water's going to be, and that's where they drill. You're like, fucking hell. I hope he ain't wrong. You know what I mean?
That's what they did. That's what they did for the well where I was drinking out of for 2 months. The guy's trailer. That's how he told me. They knew where to drill right there. But yeah, it cost a lot of money to get it drilled.
Yeah, it did.
But man, that was the best water I ever drank.
Oh, it was. Well, when they had the well, the one that dried up, they had to put all these disclaimers because they were running like an external building that they'd converted, a former pigsty. They turned into a guest house, and the name stuck. So in the pigsty, which means the guest house, they had to put all these disclaimers up, like you can't drink this water if you're pregnant, you can't drink this water if you're of ill health, because it's just well water, right? And that's just how it is. Whereas when they dug, they also spent an absolute crap ton on this massive filtration system, and it was like what presumably a similar process that they'd be using in a plant, but underneath their house. And you went in and you're like, my God, it's like a giant industrial, like in the Matrix, you know, he goes to the lower levels and there's all those machines. You're like, holy crap! You've got water filtration on an industrial scale with all these mad filters everywhere and all this machinery. You're like, holy crap! You've gone to town, and then you drank it and you're like, it's like drinking Evian. It was just the best water ever.
Yes. And that guy, that's what he went. This is in '86. So there wasn't any bottled water. The first one to come to New York was Evian, and that was his plan. He wanted to bottle water and sell it to supermarkets.
Yeah, because you can taste the difference. I remember I watched a video about this recently, actually. It just happened to come up on my shorts video. And as soon as it started, I knew the outcome, but the mom in the shorts video is horrified. This girl's like, oh, I don't want that water, it's not Evian. And she's like, you can't tell the difference, they're all the same. She's like, I absolutely know the difference. She's like, bullshit. She's like, okay, blindfold me. This is a 12 or 13-year-old, and put a load of different waters in front of me. So she blindfolds her, and one by one, she tests these waters and knows exactly what brand it is. So she's like, I think this is Happy Shopper. It could be Buxton. No, I'm going to go with Happy Shopper. And it's like someone going, yeah, it's definitely Pepsi. You know, she gets it right. And then right at the end, the last one the mom gives her is the Evian. And as soon as she drinks it, from behind the mask, you can see her face light up. She's like, that's definitely Evian. You're like,
that's the only one I could tell. I know Evian when I'm drinking it. It has a distinct taste.
Yeah, it's all the bullshit from the rocks. It's just impurities. But by the other end of the extreme, if you take water that's been, say, distilled, so it's had all, like, everything taken out of it, it's bad because it will leach it'll leach the shit out of your body when you drink it. Like it's almost like via osmosis, it wants to extract stuff into it, pure water that is. So I can't remember, I'm sure I was reading an article about this several years ago. It was actually before Bob Nodell died, and he was explaining that he was drinking distilled water. So I ended up doing a little bit of research into it and going, fucking hell, this sounds bad. It sounds like it's leaching minerals out of you after you drink it. At least that's what the papers I was reading seemed to be indicating. Like I say, I'm no expert in this.
Yeah, I'm not an expert either, but like I know you gotta have electrolytes and liquids. And like if you're just drinking like distilled water, then it would have to leach the minerals from your body. You know, you're cannibalizing the minerals of your body to process that water. Is basically what you're doing.
Yeah, that's how it sounded. That's a better way of describing it. That's kind of what I was reaching for.
Do you have what they call where the water naturally a spring? Do you have springs in the States?
Yeah, we have spring water. Poland is spring water. That's what they say. But the number one water still, they say, is Evian.
Well, it's just low from volcanic sources, right? The rocks are volcanic. But when they were digging the well, they were just explaining it's the same water that's coming out of the well, like the well that was at the bottom of their hill. So the previous system, they pumped up water from this well that was at the bottom of the hill. And they're like, well, we're going to be tapping into whatever the water source is in the area, and it's just the water that is in the water cycle. It hits the hill, some of it trickles down the hill and goes to your well, but the majority will just trickle down and down and down through the rocks, and there'll be a place where it accumulates. But by filtering the water through the rocks, it's stripping out the dirt, but simultaneously the water itself is stripping a certain amount of mineral from the rocks that's filtering it. So that by the time it gets to the bottom, you've just got a lot of that going on. Very little dirt, but quite a heavy degree of minerals from the rocks, which makes it taste nice. So in the case of Evian, it's just filtered through a volcanic rock source from memory.
Yep. Well, that's what they say. It has all the good stuff that water's supposed to have. That's what you're drinking.
It's just rocks. But that's just like anything. We need vitamins, minerals. Those are, things that we need. And generally speaking, if you're eating good cattle that's eating good sources of food, then by natural, processes of the cycle of life, they will have all of that in them.
That had the well. He took all the kids from Brooklyn and he brought them, upstate, brought us to the reservoir and stuff like that. And I remember we were drinking right from the reservoir down this trail of rocks. We just put out our palms, cup our palms, and drink it right from the rocks. Because he said it's safe to drink. Look at all the rocks coming down from freaking like a mile of rock into your hands. So by the time you get it, it's like perfect.
Yeah, exactly the same principle as my folks' original well. Yeah, it's coming down from the hill through the rocks in the hill. When by the time it comes out, it's pretty clean. Anyway, how did we end up talking about this?
Make you thirsty.
You were talking about the divining rods. And
digging the borehole. Yeah, we were talking about semi-detached houses and duplexes, and then I was talking about my folks living out in the countryside on a farm, and then suddenly we were talking digging boreholes.
That 8 mile deep Cola borehole, where they got the predictions wrong. How do you get 8 miles deep?
Gotta be respect to a flat
adding the drill bits.
Of course.
It doesn't sound like you're actually about to lead into the fact that this is a flat Earth measurement from surface or sea level in the downward orientation when you dig down.
Yes.
But nevertheless, what you're asking is a reasonable question. They just keep adding bits to the drill and forcing it down until it knackers itself, and then they've got to bring it back up again. And that was the problem they were having towards the end of the process. They'd chew through material, but they weren't actually going down anywhere. It wasn't doing anything. They were chewing through drill bits, taking up material, but the depth is not increasing. It's just they've reached a limit and they can't seem to go.
Molasses type material. If you read into it.
I actually talk about this in the book. I think it's in the molten iron core section where I talk about this specifically. Obviously, I highlight the flat Earth prerequisites of depth, but mention that that's as deep as we've gone when they're suggesting sphericity and molten iron cores to distract from. That's to say, it's a subvertive technique. The molten iron core is only there to distract you from the fact that azimuth is horizontal. That is its only purpose in propaganda of flat Earth. Why do we talk about molten iron core? So we can talk about extracted values, maybe get all the way back to Lemaitre in the rhetoric, in terms of Big Bang and the formation of Earth, Theia smashing it. Why do we have this whole bullshit narrative that's expansive? Because directions are flat. This on screen now. Yeah, that's it. The point where we're measuring from in this diagram, where it says azimuth, altitude, and by coincidence west, it says W. Well, the point, the dot, this, is the centre of hell when you describe the heliocentric version of a molten iron core. Now, drilling down 8 miles, as far as we've gone with the Cola super deep borehole, means that we haven't got close to a horizontal orientation deriving a direction in the vertical to go down with when you say there's a molten iron core. But the fact that when you point a compass north, it does not point with respect to a sphere that you're inferring, you need the most expansive bullshit-laden story to distract the audience away from the simple fact that azimuth is horizontal. The purpose of the wrong direction fallacy. The reason the book was slightly later than I would have hoped was as a direct consequence of this. I wanted to incorporate this particular aspect into the book, and I didn't have a means to do it until God sent Dwayne Cunthingham to the rescue with the wrong direction fallacy as a character, so that it could be incorporated into the molten iron core chapter to explain the whole purpose of having a molten iron core as a discussion point. It was simultaneously the first thing that we ended up describing as a housekeeping question and the last thing that was added to the book after the death of housekeeping. Because Dwayne comes along and utilises the wrong direction fallacy and starts ascribing north to an upward orientation, when up, with respect to a ball, would be inside the ball on an equatorial plane with horizontal azimuth. The very description of the wrong direction fallacy. So the whole molten iron core story is a subterfuge for the fact that, as was fallen victim to by Dave McKeegan today, directions are flat. That's it. North's not up. North's not the top of a ball. Simple.
Absolutely, because the supposed magnetic field that they're trying to describe, right, is with respect to that azimuth.
Yep. Exactly.
That's why they need the molten iron core to be violating a law of nature and everything else. You know, just as silly as you can make it, I guess, just so they don't notice that, you know, we measure it flat.
Yeah, we measure it flat and practically apply it to movement flat. So it's a fundamental principle of navigation and must be adhered to. It can be quite literally lethal if you don't. So it must be convoluted to the nth degree with stories and fanciful scenarios and Thea smashing into Earth at a glancing blow, lots of fear porn, lots of rhetoric, lots of bullshit. It needs layer after layer after layer. Why? To distract from flat direction. That's it. And how effective is it? Well, as a consequence of the constant, huge, mountainous piles of propagandized bullshit surrounding things like Thea smashing into Earth, the molten iron core, the subterfuge of the Kohler borehole, the crust, the mantle, everything that's around this subject enables what? Dave McKeegan to use directions without a hint of irony, without a hint of recognition, without it saying that the measurements he's appealing to are flat. It can go without saying that Dave can appeal simultaneously to flat earth only directions of azimuth while saying to the audience that north is something other than a horizontal orientation with respect to 0 in the horizontal. And that is specifically what he does in the video we covered today. He's capable of mentally using north as both up and a horizontal degree at 0 simultaneously without so much as a concern. It didn't faze him, didn't stutter. In his mind, it's perfectly acceptable to use azimuth horizontal and azimuth vertical. No, that's altitude. But he can do it because there's enough bullshit between that process of measuring Earth's surface and the bullshit of being on a ball. It's got enough subterfuge for someone like Dave to not recognise in sincerity that he's using something that's only ever capable of describing a plane with degrees from north in the horizontal. He could do it, didn't he? He did it without a hint of irony, didn't ever care in the world. It's not like he was about to go, oh shit, if I say this, people might point out how flat a measuring Earth. He didn't even recognise it, did he? And that's why this whole chapter, it's one of my favourite chapters, the Molten Iron Core chapter, because it does take you as a reader through the process of recognising all this bullshit. And you're like, oh, this is familiar. And then suddenly right at the end you go, holy shit, yeah, directions, north, azimuth, degrees. And you go, oh yeah, that's why we need all that shite. So that we can literally use a flat earth measurement without caring, without even noticing, just like Dave did.
Do you remember the name of that? When we were researching for the book, there was a woman that was tied directly to the speculation of a molten iron core, and that's where I got that her paper, and like the first thing it said was horizontal and vertical, because we were talking about the machine that they used to measure the seismograph. Do you remember her name by any chance?
I don't. I do have this also referenced in the book, but just not her specifically. I do vaguely remember talking about her on one of the shows.
Yeah, she wrote an entire paper where she referenced horizontal and vertical the entire time to describe the molten iron core without, no hint of irony or anything in it, It was peer-reviewed.
You see what I'm getting at, though, is that's the whys and wherefores of the necessity to have all this bullshit. You're right, why so much bullshit around this? That's why.
Yeah, I mean, as far as directly measuring Earth's flat, azimuth is that. An elevation angle is, with respect to the surface. The azimuth is, coincident with the surface.
Yeah, azimuth and altitude, that's how we measure Earth. Distance in the horizontal, distance in the vertical, azimuth and altitude. So hills and valleys, that's the vertical deviations. That's vertical, perpendicular to a plane. And distance, as in how far away something is as the crow flies, is horizontal distance. As far as what direction am I pointing, there's only one absolute direction. It's called north. And degrees, as you rotate around to give you a degree in the horizontal for direction with respect to north, is horizontal degrees of azimuth. And then anything from the plane, like Dave McKeegan described at 47 degrees with the description of a star's position at a given time, that's the vertical degrees from the plane at 0, the horizontal plane of reference, to have 45 degrees be, or 47 degrees be described with respect to. So every single measurement, that's distance in the vertical, distance in the horizontal, azimuth and altitude, are the only way that we describe Earth and movement with respect to Earth's surface. So when anybody ever measures or describes Earth and the movement with respect to it, it's always described with distance, azimuth and altitude, because you haven't got any other tools at your disposal. There isn't any other way to describe it. That's the only descriptions available to us. And the very reason the capability of the ball to back engineer at the equatorial plane is because it functions with azimuth and altitude. That's it. That's the only reason it works. The only reason the ball works is because azimuth and altitude work. That's it. But for the fact that we can measure Earth flat with azimuth and altitude, we wouldn't even have a ball to believe in.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's a fact. To believe if you live on a sphere, you need to know how flat it is.
Yep.
I mean, that's why it's so intrinsic to their rhetoric. It's like they teach these people, or they teach us, not these people, and they are us as well. We teach ourselves that, we need a plane to pull these references from. We learn geometric concepts that must be planar. And then we just apply those same geometric concepts incorrectly to try to disprove the foundation of our understanding. It's madness.
Would you like to listen to a bit of Tamara Cheville?
Who is that?
Level Plane Poem. This one. She promotes my book. Check it out.
Doing, he wanted his money, he thought he had. He decided he had proven it. Went to court, and Zen Garcia won. It was odd. The guy could not, in a court of law, beyond a reasonable doubt, prove that there was a curvature. And it's like, woo!
Yeah, and on this slide, we even can see the type of experiment that the plaintiff Mr. William Thompson was bringing up to the court to sue Garcia for the $15,000 that he thought he was owed.
One of the I probably if I could I'd say it a million times, but I don't. Nathan Oakley just came up with a book called Measured Flat, and he has a YouTube channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, and he's been doing this for over a decade, and everything he has proven, every Earth measurement is measured flat. Horizontal plane of reference for anything. Sea level, horizon, parallel, up, down, plumb. Plumb is one of my favorite. Plumb, 90 degrees. They're angles. They're straight lines from a horizontal plane of reference. Elevation, angles. Angles, you need straight lines. You get degrees, angles, degrees, all of it. Here's one of my favorites. Go ahead and point north from where you are. Where's north? Okay, where's south?
I'm currently facing south. North is behind me.
So okay, and then where would be east and west then from where you are?
So this would be east and this would be west.
You just did a plane of reference source for your directions. North wasn't this way. South wasn't this way. Maps are flat. Compasses, you have to hold a compass flat. You can't do it this way. If you got beyond the equator, how would a compass work? How would it work where's north if you're on a ball and you're below the equator? Where's north? If you're holding it flat, if you're underneath and you're holding it flat, where's north? So by pointing north is that way, it's not up. South is that way. It's all on a Cartesian grid, flat X and Y axis map. But that's just a fun.
I think she did fantastically well. She contacted me afterwards. She's like, I was super nervous because she doesn't do interviews. She's written books, but this is like her first on camera, having to communicate to an audience with her, doing what we do. And she was obviously nervous, but I thought she did an outstanding job. She looks great. She looks like she's prepped for it. She looks like, she's done her hair, combed her hair, got herself looking nice, feeling comfortable, done her makeup, got herself looking pretty, and then gone to camera, so she's full of confidence and beans. And then when she's leading in with talking about me, because this is all talking about what we do, right? And with a plug specifically for me, I couldn't be more delighted with how she performed, because she was doing herself down to a certain degree on the message she sent me. But I would say she did exceptionally well. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
I would agree.
There's a couple of points you could nitpick, but it'd just be nitpicking because the overall concept was clearly, shared.
Well, contextually, I would nitpick that she introduced how it would or should not work on a ball. But contextually within the interview, that's what she is talking about, because many of her poems are engaging that specifically as what we call old school rhetoric. So to me, when she stammered over a couple of words, it's because she is simultaneously juggling a couple of balls for keeping the globe earth rhetoric that's prevalent in many of her poems and the discussion on the table incorporated into the fact it's just measured flat. So she had to cognitively incorporate two different elements sympathetically whilst not undermining her own position. So she's introduced how would that work on a ball, which we would critique. We would say, no, well, we obviously wouldn't beg the question for our opponent because it's not necessary. But we are at the tip of a spear that she isn't necessarily engaged in when she's trying to put out poems based on her experience. So I said this at the top of the show. My critique for people when they get it wrong, someone criticised me the other day, just so we take it away from Tamara, about Eric, and was like, yeah, you could have been a bit more critical. And I'm like, yeah, could have been. But if I'm going to lay out that standard that it's inconsequential, why would I suddenly start critiquing Eric? Now, don't get me wrong, a couple of years ago, I'd have been all over that like flies on the proverbial. And the same with Tamara. But I just think, well, why? You've gone through that arc, that character arc, in terms of finding out that the Earth's not a ball, and that's been her journey. So who am I to decry it when she writes about it in poem form, and then is asked about specifically Earth not being a ball, when the rhetoric at the tip of the spear that she's also involved with, that's not her life, she's not me. But she has cognitively processed how to keep the rhetoric as much on track as is humanly possible within the context about Earth not being a ball. So again, I'd say it one more time. I felt she did exceptionally well.
Yeah, absolutely. I shouldn't even said that about nitpicking, but like any criticism I could offer would just be nitpicky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
She just sounds like she's at the beginning of. You know how when the Black Swan first came out, and then not us, but other people trying to relay the information as best they can. That sounds like what she's doing right here.
Yeah, but with measured flat, exactly. Yeah, I would agree. She's not necessarily. It's not rhetoric for her as yet, but she's doing as good a job as is available to her in the moment to punt that as the most recent rhetoric because it's the most effective. So therefore, she's kept that at the forefront of the discussion. But obviously, she's being asked by this guy about how Earth's not spherical. It's an old school interview, and rather than undermining her own poetry, she's incorporated it quite effectively. It's a difficult thing to do when you're juggling old school rhetoric, because to a certain degree, you do, or at least I can relate to this when I say it. I felt that there was going to be people around me. I don't want to say me because it's not true, that wanted to retain that rhetoric. You know, they want to keep the notion of Earth not being spherical because it's an argument that they're coherent in, and therefore, because they've seen themselves be effective when they've used that as a rhetoric, Earth not being spherical. When you come along and say, well, that's actually not necessary because Earth not being spherical requires understanding what it is to be spherical in this context, and that it's in of itself in requirement of flat Earth measurements. Therefore, you're going quite a way around the Reekin if to say not being something requires ignoring something that you're trying to prove in the first instance, and that's flat Earth measurements. But there's going to be a transition. There's going to be loads of people who are transitioning as we speak from anti-globe to just as true as it gets flat Earth rhetoric. And I don't think there's ever been a time in our history.
She's doing it better than David Weiss does it.
I would agree with that as well. Given that this is her first interview, she's done a better job than David Weiss generally does. But generally, Dave is being held over a barrel for stupid shit that he doesn't need to be held accountable for. So the most recent one I saw was him being held over a barrel for his contract writing skills in terms of him offering to Bitcoin, right? Something we've had personal involvement with, so I don't mind mentioning this. But he was being held to task because someone was saying that the wording of his contract wasn't of a high enough standard to be put into a courtroom. And he was being asked, would you rewrite it to get it up to a legal standard? And while 5 people talk over him, he's saying, well, you got my word. If you can give me globe evidence, I'll give you 2 Bitcoin. And the guy's like, no, I want you to reword your contract so I can take it to a court. And as soon as I heard it, I'm thinking, what you actually mean is you want Dave to reword the contract so you can win, based on the contract and the stipulations therein. And you think you can find some way of weaseling in words in the contract that will mean that you're obliged to be given 2 Bitcoin. Therefore, you want him to rewrite it. It's like, I do not think we've dealt with you as scumbags, and you're any different in front of Dave, whoever this guy was. I can't even remember who it was. It's not relevant.
It would be similar to me putting out a challenge in which I lay down the foundational ground, the only thing that matters, and that I will concede to everything else. And then they make it about a challenge that they want to put forward. It's kind of along those lines, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically. Scummy.
Yeah, we want to rephrase this circumstantially so that we can win. And as it stands, if I took what you've written down to court, I wouldn't win. Therefore, you're unfair. Because I've got a devout belief in a ball. I have a standard that I think I can prove a ball with. I want that standard to be a part of your contract that I say I wouldn't win with. And therefore, I'll call it a standard that isn't reasonable for a court and demand that you rewrite it. Dave's saying, you have to take me at my word. If you give me globe proof, I'll give you 2 Bitcoin. Yes, I've written stuff down about it. But if you've got the evidence, present it to me, and if it proves a globe, I'll give you your Bitcoin. But like I say, that was through rumpusing. But when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, this is now about Bitcoin and whether or not it's, you know what I mean? It's like stupid shit that isn't necessary. Now, when we were fighting against a ball, 2 Bitcoin for ball proof seemed perfectly legit, right? And we bent into it, didn't we? Now, well, no, proof for a ball that's derived from flat Earth measurements. This seems so stupid. But that's just, an advanced position to be in when you look at the old school, it's not a ball rhetoric, and go, what a load of nonsense. You've got to ignore the flat Earth measurements to create a ball, to then say it's not a ball.
I heard Jin yesterday talk about a test for Coriolis. And Dawn saying to him, well, what if I go and I do it and I demonstrate Coriolis? So here we are having tests of Coriolis drift. One Earth is measured flat. For real?
They have a meter, right, that can measure Coriolis drift within isolated or closed systems that have like air introduced into them, and the air causes like the vortex effects. They call those Coriolis meters. Well, what's wrong with that?
It's real. Nothing wrong with saying Coriolis is real. It's just it's become synonymous with a globe effect. It's not. Coriolis effect's real. Sit on a roundabout, toss a ball over the top of it, and watch from the roundabout. As you watch the ball that travels straight move over you, as you rotate beneath it, it looks like it curves. Coriolis. There you go, done. So what, you need to prove that that's real? No need. But if you suggest it's synonymous to an Earth that's turning, then the suggestion's Earth's the turning roundabout. And stuff that moves above you drifts. Well, that doesn't happen.
But it's not an actual...
Hey, hold on a second. Maybe I better rephrase this. 1 second, John.
Actual deflection.
Hold on.
One second, John. Maybe I got to rephrase this. I just said you're discussing Coriolis when Earth is measured flat.
Yeah.
There is no discussion of Coriolis. You are no longer on a globe. You are now on a measured flat Earth. What the freak does Coriolis have to do with anything?
Nothing.
No, but Coriolis effect, that is a thing.
Yes, number one, Coriolis is real. Let's just square this away. Everyone stop. Coriolis is real. It's not synonymous with the ground that you're standing on. But if the ground is reified into being a ball, then there's a suggestion that we're on a flat plane rotating about an axis, like on a chair with Dave McKeegan's example.
Coriolis is an illusion. It's not real.
Right. And the meter, and when I said there was
did you want to add something, Eli? You're off mute.
Oh, sorry. I don't have my headphones in.
But the Coriolis meter doesn't measure Coriolis. That's the funny thing, right? It's measuring actual deflection within a system. Is Coriolis actual deflection?
Negative. It's an apparent deviation. I witnessed it when I was going around the roundabout in my vehicle, and I just glanced up and saw a plane flying straight. I know what the hell Coriolis is. It's nothing to do with freaking flat Earth.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that the term is so convoluted that any deflection is just called Coriolis now.
When I first came to the arena, it was how water goes down a drain in the northern hemisphere one way and in the southern hemisphere another way. That was Coriolis. Then as you get into it, it's something else. Then as you get into it, it's freaking hurricanes and weather patterns. When it's really just a freaking, it's an illusion.
Yeah, Coriolis doesn't have anything to do with the ground. It has to do with whether or not you're in a rotating reference frame seeing something.
Here's the one, Eli, here's the one time where I would like them to say it's not the freaking ground.
But they're gonna say what they want, Neil. Like, the bottom line is to be completely accurate with our rhetoric. I mean, Coriolis is a thing. We could leave it at that. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to. No, Coriolis effect is a thing. When they say, oh, if they talk about it as any kind of actual measured deflection, like physical, the answer is that's nonsense. That's all.
Right. Well, the thing is, right, Coriolis effect is dependent upon the reference frame. Right?
That's correct.
The reference frames are planar by necessity, which does tie it to the ground because it will be an orientation with respect to the surface.
Wait a second. But it has nothing to do with the ground, the effect itself.
Well, the ground has to be moving, right? Like the roundabout, that is the surface you're on.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
moving
inducing
to get
that.
irrelevant. But it is moving for you to describe the deflection.
Okay. All right. I'm in my car right now. I do not witness any Coriolis effect at all. I'm stopped in a parking lot, looking straight ahead. There's nothing. There's no Coriolis happening anywhere.
Because you're
The
not.
kid just threw a ball,
Because you're not moving,
and I didn't see it
but that's
freaking
not his
deflect.
point.
But that's the point. The point is
That's
we're
not
not
his
moving.
point. But that's not his point. Like, you not doing anything in a parking lot but sitting there smoking a bong or whatever. That okay.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it their point, the ballers. That's what I'm saying.
But we're not. Are we talking about that? Why are we talking about Coriolis? How did it
I
come
don't know.
up?
Nathan brought it up.
No, I didn't. You did.
Somebody brought it up. Oh, I brought it up. That's right. I heard Jin talking to Dawn about Coriolis, and they were going to shoot a rifle. And Dawn said, well, what if I demonstrate and do everything and say that I did? There was a Coriolis effect. But I find that silly. To me, I think it's stupid.
It is. You know what? Because reviewing that video that we reviewed earlier in the week, that woman, right? Not the first one, the second one. She exposed to me what their active game plan is, which is the same thing I found when I went to the hospital, asking about certain information. I did not expect this woman to just send me the same packet that they give you when you're there. I'm like, no, I asked you for something specific. The thing that they would like is for us to talk about obscure things, imaginary things that we can argue either or about. And that's why you don't like it. Because when Jen is talking about the rifle, we're talking about an imagining of what would happen if we were on a globe and it was moving and what the rifle would be doing, yes. But it's not doing that because we don't need any of that anymore. I know how you feel. And that's probably the thing I hate the most, because it's like, fam, did you not just hear me say it's measured flat? Why are we talking about this?
Thank you, Eli. That's my point. We just demonstrated how it's measured flat. What the frick are you bringing up Coriolis for? You have a knowledge of a measurement.
Well, Coriolis itself is described from a plane of reference. So I don't see no problem with it.
I give up.
Well, because that's like, because what you're describing is not what we're talking about. Like, when you say you see no problem with it, like, the thing is, what others are talking about with Jen is Earth-based Coriolis. So when you say I don't see any problem with it, like, you're not engaging the imagining that they're doing.
Right, and Eli,
no, I'm briefly speaking to it because it's using an inertial and non-inertial frames of reference that are planar by necessity.
Okay, Jen is not breaking that down. You could deal with it. People on our panel can deal with it, but you ain't getting Jen to break it down like that. So he's going to be stuck in a freaking all convoluted freaking Earth globe Coriolis and proving that it's not when it's unnecessary.
Oh, that's the kind of point that the woman, remember what she said when she said flat earthers want to bring up, things like, oh, it's moving 1,000 miles an hour and this, that, and the third. And they want you to imagine how ridiculous it would be. When it's like, when she said that, it made me realize, but that's the nature of how you guys argue. Because your points are, well, there is Coriolis. Okay, where do we measure it? It's negligible.
So what she was saying, Eli, was that we exaggerate. And what they do is they freaking say it's negligible when theirs is an exaggeration if you think about it.
No, the point is to argue about that instead of the real piece of meat on the table, which is it's measured flat. But her acting like, how dare they act like, oh, the spin would be so that, because she wants to argue, she wants to keep people in the frame of mind that they should be arguing whether or not you should be feeling these things or not. When it's like, that has nothing to do with
controlling the default.
Yeah.
You know what else?
Default. As long as the default position, it starts with it's a globe and you're trying to disprove it, then the default is it's a globe. That's why they like that.
Yeah. You know what else I was looking into? You know how they always say the Greeks always knew it was a sphere? Thousands of years ago, the Greeks knew it was a sphere. Well, the funny thing is, if you look up the word geometric, it means in Greek, the old Greek language, it means earth measurement. So from now on, I want to hear the Greeks always knew how earth was measured.
Say that again. What word means measurement in Greek? What?
Right?
Geometric means earth. Geometric means earth measurement. Look it up.
Yeah, I know that.
So the Greeks always told you that Earth is a sphere. How many times did we hear it? The Greeks knew it was a sphere thousands of years ago. Well, the original word for freaking geometric, the Greek word, is earth measurement. So I want to hear that the Greeks always knew how Earth was measured. Geometric.
I think, and I want to follow that up with, since the Greeks knew that it was measured, we want to hear the Greeks' first measurement, their Earth measurement. Where is it? What is it? What was it?
Huh. What? It's the only way you can measure it. I'm just saying that Paula comes in and says, oh, Eratosthenes and all the Greeks knew 1,000 years ago was a sphere. I could turn around and say, no, actually, in the word geometric, it means earth measurement, and that's a Greek word. So I think the Greeks always knew it was flat because that's how it's measured. Sort of like flipping it around. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not verbalizing it.
No, but
right.
what you're saying is the uncorrupted, unhijacked, true statement.
Yeah. Earth measurement. Geometric. Geo-earth. Metric. Measure.
Like when I said, the ocean is horizontal, and Adam and Brian was like, that's begging the question. It's like, no, what I was saying. You can't say
that, Eli. You can't say that. There's no way that you could have tools that can measure a distance in water. You can only go so far. I remember.
Was it you calling Dave McKeegan a girly girl? Were you saying he was a bitch earlier?
Yeah, I said you kept up with the bimbo week.
You carry on bitching about this.
That's funny. Let me get my headphones in.
I'm not bitching. I'm laying down facts. Now, I do remember that incident with Eli, and he did say I could just say sea level.
See, because my statement was the unhijacked, uncorrupted version of that statement.
Yeah, what sea level means.
But Brian wouldn't have any of it, would he? Bloody Brian.
Well, because he was guilty of what he accused flat earthers of being guilty of, hanging around ballers. At that time, he was hanging around Bevite. What the hell happened to Bev? Nathan, I was thinking about it the other day. He used to shout him out. He used to come on the show with his axioms, and everything was good. And then out of nowhere, you could do fuck all with an angle. And now this is what we got.
Aliens.
Because the common denominator between whether it be Witsit, whether it be who you just mentioned, all of these people, the one thing, the smoking gun that like an elevation angle, like these flat earth prerequisites, you can see our supposed allies turned enemies. For any of these terms, any of these given terms, there's one of them defending the globe perspective on it somehow. Like the little well, Jedi had told me that he thinks that QE gave him a citation about all of the stars rising in the east and setting in the west with respect to Polaris or something like that. Like they're all circling Polaris. And I was like, no, they're not. We don't see that to make that kind of claim. And people like, what's his name, Vaxwax, will take issue with me saying that because it takes back a certain prerequisite. Whether we're talking about elevation angles or we're talking about it, whatever it is at the beginning of that is a flat earth measurement. What are we doing talking about hemispheres and the stars rotating around them, doing this, that, and the third?
Exactly.
Why are you mad that I'm pointing out that it doesn't look like all of the stars are rotating around the north? Why are you mad at that?
Well, if you remember, Witzitz believes that the most important thing above measurements is proving that Earth is not spinning.
Yeah, my point about Witsit was him arguing about the elevation angles and the higher you go, and him taking issue with. You guys remember that show when we were talking about celestial navigation and him saying you could use it with the globe or something like that.
Yes, I remember.
He actually also used the verbiage in the globe, which some of them rarely do slip up and just say in, because in is the most correct thing to say. But
Well,
I thought all of that was weird. But him basically arguing that we couldn't argue celestial navigation from the point of elevation angles was wild. Trying to take a prerequisite of the Earth being flat.
Did you hear the Uncut After Show from yesterday, Eli?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll find a timestamp and I'll send it to you. After Nathan breaks it down so eloquently, like he does, and had everybody in stunned silence, besides the rumpus in here and there, Jeremy comes in and says, "Oh, Nathan, you really can't, Jeremy, you really can't get an elevation from an elevation angle." Then he goes into this whole freaking nonsense. Then he starts saying how you can get an elevation angle from a globe. Like, what's wrong with this guy? He's a retard.
Exposed. All I know is it's a common denominator, and he's in that common space with the Globers. Unfortunately,
Right.
I don't know why they're in that common space.
Eli, I remember you saying a few years ago that Jeremy is freaking retarded because he's hanging out with these Glovers, picking up their lingo, and he doesn't understand. He definitely does not understand celestial navigation. Does not comprehend how it works. This moron thinks that you could get it from the surface of a globe. You could do celestial navigation, no problem.
I sent him the Practical Navigator series. I don't think he watched any of it.
Well, if you sent him that, then he would see that everything's coming from inside the globe. The equatorial plane. 10th Man gave us all those diagrams. This ain't something he made up. He's reading celestial navigation books.
Yeah. just opposing thing. Like whenever people oppose something that's true, I just put them in the same category. I don't care what you label yourself, Glober, Flat Earther, whatever. For some reason, you are getting in the way of this truth, this very simple, obvious truth.
Yep.
Today
That's
it's
correct.
you now. So
I feel like he wanted to just get in to say something. Just to say something to say something. He sounds like a freaking retard. And that's exactly what Nathan called him. And then he says, "Oh, come on, Nathan, you don't have to call people names. You don't go there." So you know what the next thing out of Nathan's mouth was. "You retard." I was cracking up. Like, when are they going to learn? The minute you tell Nathan not to do something, he's going to do it. You freaking morons. So
Don't
just
do
be
things
quiet.
because people have. I'm not just a contrarian. If somebody's being stupid and they're like, "Oh, don't call him stupid," like, well, he's being stupid, so I'm going to continue doing that. Not because he's not, because he's told me not to. In other words, I'm unaffected by someone telling me, "No, you're not allowed to call this person that's just demonstrated themselves stupid." Like, I will just ignore that. That's them being uncomfortable with the stupidity being pointed out. Like, it leaks. Like, often when people are being held to task in the debate, I'll hear my own side pipe up in the silence because they can't bear it. Like, the uncomfortable silence of the person being demonstrated wrong isn't just affecting my opponent, it's affecting the person on my own side. Like, they can't bear it either. They can't bear to hear it. So they suddenly pipe up and change the subject or whatever it is that interjects the uncomfortable silence of a ball believer being demonstrated wrong, and suddenly they're stunned to silence. Yeah? Well, it's a similar sort of thing. You know, people want to get in and have their two pennyworth in. And in that case, with Jeremy, there's, like you said, an eloquent description of how flat Earth is measured, and suddenly somebody's spurging out how a baller will describe the same thing with respect to a plane that isn't being acknowledged. And you're like, well, no, that is idiotic when you've had it broken down to you. What's the next thing out of somebody who's finding that uncomfortable? Oh, don't call him a retard. Well, no. Have you comprehended what's just been laid down? Because he's completely contradicted it for absolutely no reason.
Exactly. And you won't call him that unless he demonstrates himself to be that.
like you said, if everything has been broken down, then what is this meaningless opposition for? It's weird. People don't like it.
And the funny thing was, it was a very hot and heavy one. Nathan had like maybe an 8 against 1 at one time, right? So you know how that gets.
Now, well, that's the thing that pissed me off the most, right?
Out of nowhere.
It's Jeremy who's supposed to be on my freaking side. Now, obviously, there is no sides, right? And it's inconsequential and blah, blah, blah. But by the same token, I'm managing to just about keep control of about 8 people who want to spurg through the top of every freaking word I'm saying. So when a guy from my own side starts putting the opposing side's position after I've laid it out nice and concisely is frustrating. So, he got it in the neck. Now, maybe that was his bag. Maybe he's just a contrarian. But it did piss me off.
He deserved it. I'm sorry. He deserved it. He deserved it, and I was glad that you did it.
What claim did he make?
Biting my teeth as he's speaking. Like, what the frick is wrong with this guy? I don't know anything what you just asked.
I mean, we went back in today and he was around, and I said to him, look, I was particularly brutal with Jeremy last time I was here. Hopefully he forgives me and is as fickle as I am. That was my opener when we got there. But we didn't even hang around long enough to hear from him. Thieves entered the room and I disappeared. But obviously I'm not banned from there for calling him a retard or whatever it is I got angry with him in regards to.
He was saying that you can get an elevation angle from a globe as well. You could do celestial navigation from the surface of a globe.
He don't know what he's talking about then.
Because look, here's the thing. Like, obviously, when they jump out of the window and go, so when you're on a hill, you can't get an elevation angle. Like, there's some disconnect that they're pretending is there. But I don't believe that there's a true disconnect because, like Nathan said, when all of the information is laid out, you can't then convince me that you're missing something. Lo and behold, they still pretend that something is missing. But the bottom line is, if you're standing on the hill is in a continuously curving surface. It's with respect to the plane that you're using to measure everything else from.
Yeah.
The hill included.
Exactly. There's a certain number of people around in the arena currently that know when to obfuscate. And when they do, I'm like, so you know then. Or you wouldn't know that this is damaging and therefore an opportunity that needs obfuscating. Like when they strategically rumpus certain points, you're like, you know where this is going, don't you? And it makes me chuckle, I've got to be honest. I've stopped like going, oh no, this is terrible that they're going to rumpus the main point. Like, hang on. So they know this is the main point then?
Yep. It's been a lot lately. I've been noticing it too.
And Nathan, that is why I proudly and righteously say they're liars. I don't care what anybody has to say about, well, they can't be lying. They are liars. They are liars. Period, point blank. Just like they lie about everything else that happens in the world when they know it's plain as day, irrefutable. They're colluding along with the lie and the narrative to be able to gaslight and to keep the dumb ones dumbed down. They're liars. Period,
Yeah, we're not doubting anybody. We're talking about the people in Discord. We don't disagree with you. The people we deal with in Discord are liars.
Time out. But what you're saying is a good point. That's a good point because there's a part in the Bible. I don't know if it's God or Jesus, but he's like condemning those that have locked the door, and have been these lawyers, right? Who also have not walked through that door and have stayed in ignorance. They're literally talking about this situation where there's a clear truth on the table, and then you have all these obfuscators that jump out the window to stop others from seeing and accepting the truth.
Yeah, you're talking
the Bible
about
literally talks about that.
Yeah, you're talking about when he said you'll go miles and miles to make one convert, and all you do is make him twice the son of Satan.
Yes. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. Is that not what they're doing there? Is God not talking about them? There you go.
And I'm even talking about the damn pilot I mentioned last week or so. I don't care. He's a liar. I'm going to tell you right now, he knows the difference between descent. He knows the difference between descent, pitch, horizontal, negative, and positive. He knows that it has nothing to do with the reason why you descend is because you're going over the curve.
Yeah, but you might have a guy that just doesn't put it together yet, though. That was my only thing. Listen, D-Rose, you know him better than me. If you say he's a liar, I'll agree with you.
I don't know him better than you.
You spoke to him. I didn't speak to him.
Right, but I just met him. But I was just exposing himself to let him put his foot in his mouth and then say, that's not my foot. That's my elbow.
I don't know, because some people are still like, I'm telling you, you could say to them and they're just not, you have to understand the psychological dilemma most of the people are under. What was my excuse when my brother told me these things? For 2 weeks, I freaking berated him until I couldn't prove that I lived on a globe. And then I started looking into it a little more and then found my way here. But I wasn't lying when I was berating him. I was just uninformed.
Let me ask you, Neil. Were you flying then?
No, but here's the thing. I don't know if anybody, let's say my brother would have came with measurements, perhaps I would have understood it. He came like with the Feast of Nonsense, there's an ice wall and all that other stuff. But perhaps if somebody would have came and detailed the measurement for me like we detail it now, I don't know if I would have berated him. That would have made me
okay, Neil.
We'll find out.
It's fine.
Neil, what I'm saying to you, and I don't know why you can't understand that the same way Eli understands me about the people that are on these servers that know, but they still jump out the window with the gatekeeping of blocking the truth from the people are the same level. They know the same thing and even less but they're just learning it from FED and from eavesdropping. But these pilots and these surveyors, they already know this. That's
Yeah,
why
but I don't know if they. Yeah, but I don't know. Somebody help me out here, because you
it's went
can't say that
without
they're all
saying for
lying.
so long. It's went without saying for so long that it hasn't been said. And now that we're finally saying it, of course you're going to get the reactions, the visceral ones that you get. It has nothing to do with them lying. It has to do with their cognition being reset, basically, right before our eyes. And they don't like it.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
I'm just saying they don't like it, and that's why they spurg. That's why they lose control.
Okay, so now, if it's going on 10 years from now, D-Rose, if 10 years from now...
it will be going on 10 years from now.
Hold on a second. This is just what I've been thinking about. If we're discussing these same things for 10 years, and it's out there for 10 years, and then you tell me you have a conversation with a freaking surveyor and a pilot, and you're saying the same thing, then I'm going to agree with you. You're just outright lying now, because now this is out there.
Yeah, but look, Neil, but you go ahead, because I know he's responding to you.
I just wanted to say, Neil, Nathan's book and FED did not enlighten the world. Even though we are the best, we didn't enlighten the world. These pilots,
I didn't say we are.
Let me finish. What we are now discovering that took 10 years to finally put it all together and make it simplistic as it is.
People knew already.
Yes. So the ones that now hear it and then still debate about it, I'm not accepting any cognitive dissonance. I'm accepting that they're either loyal or to some type of whatever you want to say, conspiracy of keeping the people dumbed down to make them think it's round because it's beneficial to do it that way because NASA makes money, et cetera, or they are liars.
Yeah, but you can't divine that. Look at the kid I was talking to. I was talking to a kid that was going to freaking school, aviation school. And no matter what I said to this kid, he would argue with me and bring it back to a globe, and how they know it's a globe. And no, we do fly around the globe, back and forth, until he finally understood the lift effect, the takeoff and descent. Then, hold on, let me finish. This was a guy that was not a liar, not a freaking liar. But as it more and more we spoke, then he understood it.
Well, he's not. He is still a student on the fence of what he was indoctrinated, as we all were, to learning how to fly.
He was freaking 6 months away from flying. What are you talking about?
It does not matter. 6 months of aviation school does not change 19 to 25 years of indoctrination. So let's stop that first of all. So that's not my same scenario. What I'm saying, he's now learning from what he's learning, and what you're saying together, corroborating. Hey, you got a point. This shit is not round.
Yeah, but you're making my point now. You're talking about the indoctrination.
Now, talk to him 5 years from now, or 6 months, or a year from today, and catch him conversating with somebody and see if he purports what we purport. Then you can say to me, we're making progress. But if he continues to either keep a silent mouth or ride along with the wave of
So why does he have to say anything?
Look, there's a lot of here's what's going to happen, because it's happening now. Like you said, maybe if somebody would have hit you with the measurements, you already knew them. So it wasn't that wasn't the thing that got you. So the point is, like, even with Nathan's book, even with us, all of the preamble before the book came out, people still, quote unquote, don't get it. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know to call them liars. I just know I can put them in the same common category, the same place. I'm not putting them there. They're going into the same place. They're doing the same thing. That pilot, like my friend, when I showed him, like, look at what you're watching on CNN. Now look at what you're watching on Fox. Look at this. Look at that. Now, Notice they're talking about this source. Let's go to the source. All right. Now that you've read the source, did you get that from any of those pundits? He said no. I showed him that time and time and time again. My point to him was stop watching the news. If you want to know the news, truly look at these sources and the things that these people are talking about. At least start there if you're going to be interested.
Yeah, but
And
you said that I know.
listen to what happened though. He was totally one with me. He was with me. He understood. He was there. A year later, I go over biggest TV I've ever seen. He has on MSNBC talking about, see, that's why we can't be listening to Alex Jones. Which I never said anything to him about Alex Jones. So I'm like, okay, he's already been reinfected and there's nothing I can do. And he's going to push back twice as hard. What did he do? He also, out of nowhere, in that same frame, that time frame, he said, oh, and all that flat earth stuff is dumb. This is after he spoke to QE about science versus pseudoscience, all of that. They actually had a good conversation. But his rebuttal was, but I heard how he spoke to others and I didn't like it, and that's a cult, and blah, 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 blah. And of course, the earth is a sphere. So 5 years from now, I don't give a damn what you show somebody, measurements, logical arguments, that if they're going to put themselves in the room that Jeremy puts himself in, there's nothing you can do about it.
I agree 100%, but I disagree with what you said about me. I did not know. I did not know until what was always known was said. Then I said, oh, shit, that's right. Measurement 10th man started laying it out. And then when John freaking laid it out, I was like, duh, like it hit me. But before, I didn't even think of it. If I'm doing a measurement, I'm thinking about, oh, shit, it's not a sphere.
But you didn't stop it though. That the difference between you and other people are people who somehow put a roadblock between them and themselves and that understanding. You didn't do that. Jeremy's doing that. The people D Rose is talking about is actively doing that.
No, but
there's also the complexity of the human mind, and it can't fall into a dichotomy. The razor y'all are talking about, the whether it's stupidity or ignorance, is not for you to make a positive claim either way. It's just to say that sometimes stupidity can appear as ignorance. You're talking about the human mind and there's different levels of cognition too. And then on top of that, there is the ability within the human mind, it's called delusional, where you can believe something to be true even with opposing facts shown to you and accepted, and still believe what you believe.
Yes, Matthew Learns.
The human mind.
What you've just described is Matthew Learns.
Yeah, Matthew Learns is delusional. He's not a liar and he's not an idiot. He is delusional.
Correct. Someone was asking the other day, how can somebody hold this position where...
too, though.
Someone was asking the other day, how can someone hold this position where they outright declare that they understand how flat Earth is being measured and then suggest that they still believe it's a ball? Well, that's being delusional.
Are we allowed
it could be religion too. Hold on 1 second, Eli. It could be religion too. Religion, a zealotry, that'll cause you to resist a truth because the religion is powerful.
Yep.
Especially if the religion makes you the authority over what is truth, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the appeal. Hold on, you're on fire. That's the appeal of anti-flat Earth, anti-globing, formerly known as flat earthing, because suddenly you're in a position where you know something that the person, in spite of any opposition you might have directly posed to you by that person, you know something they don't. And it resonates at such a level that you think, no, I am now an authority in this regard. And I don't know, 6 months ago to a year ago, that's what we were talking about when we were saying that people are going to fall out with us because we're taking that away from them.
Well, I'm going to say this.
I'm going to use a metaphor. To me, this type of psychotic state of delusion is the same level as someone that mass murders somebody and tries to plead insanity. And then the psychiatric penal system has to evaluate to see if this person is really using this to get a lighter sentence or really psychologically deviant, a deficit. So now we have to start figuring out who's lying and who's telling, who's really cognitive dissonant. Because it's like you got people who are the experts being as dumb or even dumber than the people who don't know anything, but at least use the feast of nonsense and their common 5 senses without the measurements to realize that it can't be, because it's observably and it doesn't feel like it's moving. But you got these experts who should have those same common senses and with the expertise of measurements, who continue to fall on the sword of sphericity of the earth.
No, but that's where this is Ready Player One. That's where we can choose to be totally missing in action or select the option to play the game. You don't have to be a flat Earth Jedi. I know that there's more to telling someone the Earth is flat other than showing them the measurements. I like to get into someone's mind. I swear that's just what it is. So when someone is because I can already feel like it's deeper than words. You can feel it. Like that thing that Nathan was talking about or that we were discussing, when they know what you're going to say, they know where you're going. They do know. It's more than word. They can feel it, and it comes up as a feeling. It's unsettling. I'm going to have to reckon with some information that I don't want to have to reckon with. Here's the thing. They don't know that. Rumpus probably knows that. Maybe he doesn't. Matthew probably knows that. Maybe he doesn't. I know for a fact that my cousin doesn't know that. My neighbor up the street doesn't know that. So now I'm playing a game with you that you don't know that I'm playing. It's a game of cat and mouse. There's this informational bit right here. And you're doing everything you can not to go down that avenue. Now, all roads lead to this avenue. But you keep making U-turns. Do you notice that? You didn't answer this question. How come? Why are you getting upset? Like I don't know. I like playing the game when people don't know why they're avoiding the truth, but they want to curse me out, telling me they know what the truth is. Well, all right then. Answer this question. Okay, don't answer this question. How about you tell me specifically why you're asking that question? They can't answer that question either, because it goes right back to that road, and they get so frustrated. And as a Jedi, the part that I think I'm a Jedi on is it's not to belittle them or chastise them and allow them to go further from that road. In some way, I need to appease them, rub their back, and help them keep walking.
Sure,
that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do. And that's all I'm ever thinking about.
You do you. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me up via PayPal and Patreon for birthday love and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Be sure to check out Measured Flat in the info box below this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Millimeter, it be accurately measured.
It's measured flat, direction up and down. Flat level we at, flight over ground. Descending from that breeze, heading in degrees. Horizontal, flat.